Recording. We are on week 18 of this beginner boost thing, specifically about Go. So we're on week 3 of Go. And the first thing I need to say is that, just really quickly, we're moving to Saturdays. I moved to Saturday this week temporarily because Oktoberfest is tomorrow. I'm going to go drink beer with my family. If you want to watch, by the way, I will be IRL streaming that. So just look for my playlist on YouTube if you want to do that, or watch for Twitch. I do a number of different streams about different topics. I just want to plug those really quick at the beginning. So we have another couple new things that I want to tell everybody about. We have Coffee Talk at 7 to 8 a.m. every day now. We're trying this again for our Eurasian friends who I deeply admire and miss, frankly, because I haven't been doing all my streams in the evening. So we're going to be doing that for them. Mondays and Wednesdays, we're going to be doing Hack the Box. And Tuesdays and Thursdays we'll be doing Linux Home Lab, which, as you can see, I'm still building it out. I got one of my racks done here with a server in it, and my MSIs, my CFFS, and all that stuff. And then we're gonna move QCA, questions, conversations, and advice, to the end of the day. It's the last thing I'll do before I turn in, go to bed, and I'm going back to a regular schedule. So I've been telling everybody on every stream that I've been doing lately about these changes. It's quite substantial. If you want to keep up with this, just do the cal command in Twitch. You can go see that, and I'll be posting that. But it's really important that you know about this change because of the boost. So boost is on Saturday. If you want to know why, Dayloop summarized, and we had other people from Germany and other people summarize that now that there's stuff going on. For a lot of these people, the boost is really late. It's like they wait up until midnight or sometimes later in Europe to do the boost with me so they can do it live. And that's Sunday night. So their next day is their Monday is really bad. So, but they can do it on Saturday. They can stay up late and maybe drink a little or something and maybe do the boost with me and have fun. So we're permanently moving back to Saturday. Any of the Americans should have no problem with Saturday. It is a Saturday afternoon, so it's going to conflict with people's activities. But any of those people, hey, Lesser, any of those people can obviously, watch the reruns. In fact, most people probably should watch the rerun because you can stop it while I'm doing it. I tend to talk really quickly, and so maybe they'll make it better for you to understand. All right, so what did we do last week? So last week was week 17. Just a reminder that we are halfway through the boost, so it's probably time for you to look around for things that you can do for the boost. I did go over the other playlists and the thing last week, but there's been chat calendar changes. So we talked about Go learning resources, a lot of stuff with regard to that. We talked about how to parse command line arguments, and we got through, if I remember right, what did we get through? We got through, I think we did hi from our challenges, right? Yeah, so we've got hello done, and we did hello, and I believe we finished hi. And remember, hi was how we're let's see. Yeah, so we did hi. We went through how to make modules the right way and everything. So Exorcism is okay. Exorcism is the official, as I've said, it's in the thing. Exorcism is the official Go Developer Network place to go to learn Go. However, it's pretty deficient. It's got some things that are just wrong and old. I'm not going to teach anything but 1.18, for example, and so there's reasons to avoid that. So here's the last project we did. We did hi. If you want to see the challenges, you go to rbxrob/challenges on GitHub, and you can see the. I don't have the documentation for all the challenges yet, but these are the challenges I've been using for years. As I said before, they're designed for primarily for people 8 to 18 or 9 to 19, however you want to add it up. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be a really lightweight introduction to programming, and they are, we will get into concurrency and things like that, but we had a question earlier today about whether we were going to cover the hard stuff and the advanced stuff, and the answer is no. This is a boost. It's designed to be, your first pleasurable, fun experience of programming, real programming, besides, shell scripting, and so we're gonna do that. All right, so the first thing, we are going to get into some term color today, probably, so we'll have some fun with this. So we did hello, which was just printing hello world. We did hi, which we use variables, and we were able to grab those variables from the command line. And now what we want to do is we want to more generically, instead of just having hi, we want to maybe more generically make a command called greet that can either read from the command line or it can prompt. So this is as I've said before, these challenges are designed with primarily, utility building and systems operations in mind. So it's really important that you know how to pass data into a utility. And so we're introducing that pretty early. That's not something that, by the way, that you would do on a lot of these websites out there. They don't necessarily do that. Yeah, and it has support. Yes, right. It does, but yeah. But exorcism support is questionable. It has it, but it's not necessarily. Those are volunteers, right? So anyway, buyer beware. That's all I got to say about that. I mean, I love the effort that they're doing. I think it's fantastic. I just wish it were more recent and relevant. I have a big problem with anything that's not relevant, if you haven't noticed. And by relevant, I mean, and it's kind of ironic because I'm doing stuff that's just silly, right? It's silly, but the techniques are relevant, such as reading arguments from the command line and reading interactively from standard input, which we've done in Bash. We already know how to do that. But how do you do that in Go? We haven't even done that yet, right? So we're going to do that today. So we're going to dive right in. So, pause the video right now. Take time to get yourself set up. You should already have like a lab directory or a boost GitHub repo to go along with everything. We've already covered all of that. So if you don't know how to do that, take time to do that so you can have it as a backup. And inside of week 18 here, RBX Boost weeks 18, we're going to make a new project. Now, a lot of this is going to be redundant, and that's on purpose. A lot of the challenge-based activities on Free Code Camp and Exorcism, they have you pass a level and you move on, but they don't have you continuously repeat what you did before so you can reinforce it. So we're going to go ahead and repeat from scratch as kind of a test of our skill. How do we make a new project? All right. So let me ask you. Let me ask you what. Okay. So we have like 40 of you or so. What is the first thing to do to make a Go project as of last week? I'm not talking about the Go run stuff. What is the very first thing I need to do to make a project? We want the project to be called greet. So what do I do? You already know this. We've done it 3 times already. If you don't know, I'll give it into you, but I'm going to give you just a chance to think about it. How do I start a project? Pretty much every time you ever want to make a project in Go. Make directory greet and go mod init. Yes. Okay. You call Steve. Make directory cd into it before though. Yes. Good. So make directory greet. So these days, every time we make a new project, you should always start with a directory named after what the project's going to be, whether it's a library or it's a thing. Now you can make a full GitHub repo for that, but in this case, we only need to make the one, right? And we confirmed the last couple of weeks that we can actually make multiple modules, Go modules, even in a single Git repo, even though that's not common. It's more common than it used to be because of something called mono repos, but still. And that means what? So then we're going to cd into greet, and here, what do we need to do? So the next command is go mod init. Okay, so what else though? What else goes here? Now, in my case, this is kind of a trick question, right? Because we are using this big old long deep GitHub repo. Well, what is it? What does it start with? Almost always it's going to start with github.com or wherever it is that you're hosting. Usually it should be GitHub probably, and then RBX Rob Boost weeks 18 greet. Okay, now there's very little cause to ever name a module something different than the exact path that you'll find that on the internet. And so even if you haven't published it yet or anything, you should probably get in the practice of putting that name in there. Go imagine it creating. All right, so it says creating new module, and we end up with this go.mod file, which matches your name. I actually go 1.19 on here, but I didn't do it. So, and you get this file, right? And I could have made that file, but that's okay. And we don't know anything. You don't know anything about Go work yet, which we'll get to eventually. So, all right. So now we have a Go mod file. Okay. So this is going to be something different. So let's go ahead and recreate the Hi program. All right. It's kind of a review. If you want to copy it over, you can. But if you want to test yourself right now, pause the video or whatever, and make Hi over again. Only this time name it greet. So what are the requirements? Okay. We need to make a program, and I actually have these written from an older thing. Let me go see if I can find them really quick. So where are you? All right. So if you go and see, I mean, this stuff, I can't promise it's going to be there later, but if you go to rdvx.gg Langshaw, you'll see greet. Where is greetings? All right, so this is if it's a script as a thing line. So make it print greetings. What's your name? Greetings. What's your name? So this, I'm going to alter these requirements somewhat. So the requirements are simple. Your boss or someone has asked, or you want to make a program like Hi that, you know, takes in input from the command line, but I mean, sorry, from the arguments on the command line. But if there aren't any, you want it to wait around. You want it to wait around, and you want it to get those arguments from standard input. Okay, now that's just something you haven't done before. And on top of that, there's another requirement. You should be able to make this function that comes out of this composable. It should be able to be imported into another program, and so other things can use it instead of just saying hi. And we probably are also going to detect. Later on, we'll see if we can make it so that it detects the language. So there's a number of things going on here, right? So we want to be able to have it detect language. So let's actually write the requirements down. All right, so let's write them down. So greet. Okay, so we want to not higher order. I mean, you could use hard order if you know what they are, but we're not going to use hard order. Right now it's still pretty basic, right? So create a command that greets the user in their common language, All right, so okay, so let's say yip, that's as detected from the environment. Now, some of this stuff is not just to teach you about how to code, but it's also how do I interact with the host system to look up environment variables and stuff. Okay, so what are the requirements? Requirements. And if you want to just get running on this and you want to start writing it yourself, go for it. There's no, again, my style is co-learning or co-programming. That means we're doing it together, and you're going to come up with a way, and someone else is going to come up with a different way, and we're going to compare notes, and we're going to say, that's really cool. In fact, after writing the requirements, I would largely just shut up, and I would show people where to go look for the answers, or not to do the research, and I would encourage the classroom to do the research, and then I would walk around the room. Now, we can't do that here because it's me and 60 or 70 of you, and so I'm going to do my best to simulate that, though. So I'm going to give you all the requirements up front, and then I'm going to slowly talk through the different pieces and kind of why I decided to do it my way. But I really want to encourage you to get in the habit of looking up how to do each one of these requirements on your own. Okay. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the looking up of those things as well to kind of get you trained. This is why we went through how to do command line searches of the internet. This is why we went through it, because the process of reading something about how to do something, looking it up really quickly, is just as important as the code itself. So I want to really emphasize that. It's super important that while you're doing this, you learn the process of learning while you're doing the coding. Because if you don't do that, your muscles for doing your own learning will be lost, and then you'll leave college, or you'll leave after the boost, just like any other modern traditional education. You won't know what the hell to do because you don't know how to do your own learning. All right. So I really want to encourage you to tell me to shut up, turn me off, or pause me, and try this your best on your own, and then come back and tweak it and see how you did it. Right. Or look in the back of the book and that kind of thing. All right. So what are the requirements? The first requirement is name the program greet. Okay. Then we're going to say if command arguments passed, assume they are name. We can say combine all arguments into single argument parameter. So that's what to do with that, and into single. Yeah. So we're going to join them. And then what? We're going to say if no arguments passed, prompt for name. If no arguments passed, greet generically and prompt for name. Okay. And then what? Then we're going to say, detect the language from the host system. Answer, let's see, switch to language detected, and print simple greeting in that language. And if you know me, I'm a big language guy, so I want to put language and stuff in here. I think it's super important that we emphasize to beginners, and nobody does this. I've never once seen any coding instruction online whatsoever that emphasizes multi-language programming. And it's really sad because I've worked with Italians, I've worked with Asian groups, and they don't do this, and so they end up writing code that's only in English, and they don't consider that many different users are going to be using this stuff long term. Now, are we going to get really deep into all the different ways to do this? No, but we are going to introduce the concept of writing code that's modularized in a way that allows multiple languages to be detected and plugged in, and so you can maintain the different languages easily by separating out where the language code goes. So that is a requirement. So we're going to put it that say, let's say, write code that could easily have additional languages added. So we're not talking about a separate file or anything like that. We're talking about writing code that has support for those languages built in. Now, to be fair, most of the time when you're writing a foreign language program, you write it in that language, and then you make it so that another binary can be compiled for the target language. Not always, but that's pretty common to do that. All right. So, but because it's just easier, because otherwise you're going to be supporting literally, how many languages, 50, 60 languages. So a lot of times it's good to just make your code so that it can be easily copied over, or it can be compiled for a different language. And there's lots of approaches. We're not going to get really deep into that, but the basic idea of separating out language variables and stuff like that does apply. All right, so that's it. All right, it's just a greeting. It's just a basic thing. So again, what is this teaching us? This is teaching us, command line concepts. This is teaching us, command line arguments is a common thing. If we were going to tag this, command line parameters, I guess I should say. Parameters, and we should probably, we can come back to it and do some color later. Well, I guess we could put it for bonus. You want to put bonus, 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 add some interesting colors in the text output. All right, so command line parameters, we're going to be learning about variables and stuff like that. We're going to be learning about, we'll call them compound variables, I call them, and containers. Actually, yeah, well, I don't know, we'll see. Hashes and dictionary, maps, stuff like that. Okay, so that is pretty much the activity. So I think we're all on the same page now. So now we know how to name the program. We did that already. I'm going to keep this here. So let's keep this as our README. And we'll go back here. Well, this is our challenge. We don't need that anymore. This is the YouTube a week summary. Which program? This I'm using Tmux, and I'm writing a program in Go. We are doing the boost right now, the beginner boost. So one of the reasons that I fleshed this program out really early is so that people can go off and do these things. I mean, it seems really simple to do this. This is a small program, and most people could write this in like 10 minutes or less, but I want to go through these things, okay? So let's do it. All right, CD weeks 18, greet, and we got our program already, and we know what we're building. We got a README here. So first we'll name the program greet. Okay. All right. So how do I start a program? Oh wait, we forgot a requirement. Create name the program greet. Create an importable module named greet with a greet command as well. All right, so this is the first part, and we're going to jump right into this. So this is so pay attention to the next step, and if you need to take notes here, go ahead and take notes. I'm going to put them in the summary. So we're going to say covered. Hey, how are you? So we're going to go ahead and say we're going to cover importing modules. Okay. We're going to cover including commands with importable library modules, importing packages. We're going to say creating a package module, including commands within importable library modules, package modules, importing packages. Yep. And importing packages. Okay, so let's cover those things first right now. And these are, so the first thing you need to understand, we talked this before. So you can either have a command, which means you have main, or naming main.go and lib.go main.go conventions. So you can either have a command, which is a main, package, or you can have an importable library, which is any other name besides main. And up to now, every time we've done this, we would make, by convention, we would make a main.go. And let's go ahead and do that. Let's do everything we did in high again. So let's make a main.go. And we're going to do package main and func main. Remember this? You should have done this already. Okay, so I mean, we've done this a lot of times. Let's just print something out, right? So log println would greet. All right, so let's just go ahead and scaffold this out. I went ahead and saved it, and because my vim.go is working, it automatically imported it. And we're gonna go ahead and now we'll build this. And we also talked about doing go install to automatically install it. So now I have a greet command. We covered all of this in the week before, the week after that. I don't want to review that, but so we've been doing go for two. I am not going out today. No, nope, not tonight. No, I'm sorry, Julio. We're doing programming for the next 4 hours. Yeah, if I do anything tonight, I'll be probably cleaning. I'm going out tomorrow, though. Tomorrow we're going out to Oktoberfest. All right, so it's funny because I get, just for the YouTubers who are watching this, a lot of people watch because I go out to pubs and dance and skateboard and stuff. So I get people in here who aren't necessarily here for the coding, which is great. I love it. Greeter is available for all users. Yeah. So just as a reminder, we covered this last week, but when you do a go install, this is covered extensively last week. We went through go bin, how to set up go bin, and how to have it automatically push your greet command into the right place. So now I can just run greet from anywhere, right? Yeah. No, you're good, cool. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah. And it's available only for my user. I could have set my go bin to be, user local bin. We covered this last week, but we could revise it again, and then it would actually, yeah. This is covered last week, so please make sure you watch that. But that is coming up because of the go environment variable go grep bin, and you'll see go bin is set to that. So whenever you do a go install, it compiles it for the target OS and puts it in your go bin file directory. And as long as the go bin directory is in your path, then it will actually be immediately available to you. Okay. So, and that takes care of a lot of the hassle. I mean, you could have just built it right there, run a make file or something like that. It's a regular environment variable. Yep. Yep. So yeah, go bin. Again, we covered that last week. I encourage you to watch all of the videos about Go that led up to this one. You're going to be very lost. All right. So, so where are we? So we're back here. Okay. So, and when we did high, this is how you would do it. And it would make as you can see, it made a greet command, right? And like last week, just as a reminder, what if the first thing we want to do is we want to break this out and say, we're scaffolding is what this is called. We're like organizing our code. So we know we need a function that says this because we can't really test main. We learned that last week. So let's make a function called greet. We're making it initial cap so that it gets exported, which is the best default in my opinion. And because you can always go with the internal, which we talked about last week, as opposed to making everything private and having to change all the letters when you want to export something. So again, talked about all that last week. So greet, let's go here, let's move our log function up here. And in main, we just call greet, right? Now I can rebuild that, and greet is just the same thing, but now it's in a separate, function, right? And then last week we talked about, well, what if we, we talked about having two files. Any file at this top level will be combined together. Any Go file is as if they were all in one big file. So we can actually copy main.go, and we can do greet.go, right? And we can go to main, and we can make main really, really tiny now. And if I watch, when I save it, it got rid of that other thing, right? Now you always have to have the same package at the front. That's a requirement. But other than that, it's the same as if they were literally in the same file. Now, why would you do this? Okay, so the immediate reason to do this is so we can simplify our tests. Another thing we also did last week. All right, so now we can make a test. Do we want to make a test for main.go? Probably not, because we already know that it's tough to test main because the argument values, differ and everything. We struggled with that quite a bit last week. So, but we can make a test case, a test-driven test case for greet.go. So for that, we can go ahead and make greet_test.go, and we can go ahead and write our test case for this, which is package greet. And in this case, we're going to do greet test because we're going to use example tests, which are going to directly simulate what somebody would use if they were going to use our documentation. Our thing, and we follow the convention for testable examples. Testable examples, and you might want to go look those up. In fact, let's go find you a link to that. Related. Let me go find you a link to that. Testable examples in Golang. And whenever you're searching for Go, you should always search for Golang. So here we go, testable examples, and we found some research document really quickly on that. If you're wondering how I'm doing this so fast, please go back and watch the other videos in the boost up to this point to show you how to do effective research and documentation while you're coding. So I just did a ton of searching that took me less than 10 seconds, and if I couldn't even get my web browser open in time. So we spent an entire day dedicated to text-based searching, and I strongly encourage that you eventually learn to master that, even if you don't feel like doing it today. So that testable examples will give you the whole idea of that. So but this is basically the idea. Using reflection and Go, you can name anything example, and then after that, it looks for the identical name of the thing that it's going to test. So in this case, greet, right? And then it looks for it looks for a specific line that says output, a comment line, and then we can just call greet, right? So in order to call a function, we put the parentheses behind it. Don't forget them. A lot of beginners forget to put those there. All right, so now we can actually run a test. And we talked about how to set up automated tests with GoNTR. So we could actually do some testing here. So in fact, what did we do? We actually made a program that does it. What do we call it? Go tests. Found not found. Oh, that's not it. I have one, but I'm trying to remember. We made a file for it. What did we call it? I don't remember. We can make another one. You want to make another one? Using ENTR? I think it's go ENTR. Oh, that's it. Go ent test. Yeah, it's in the previous videos. So let's go remind you what's in this go ENTR test. So this runs bash. It clears the screen, runs go test, and looks at all the files in the current directory to see if there was any change. And as soon as there's a change, it reruns it again. So we're just going to run that program. And as you can see, it's like, there's no Go module here, so I must have run it in the wrong place, which I did. So I got to go into greet. Now we're in the right place. I have to go ENTR test. So it says it found package main. Uh-oh. It's like something's not right here. Okay, so, and this is because we named this greet, and we have to name it main._test, right? Because that's got to match that thing. Undefined greet. Okay, so we don't have a greet yet. Now, the reason we don't is because we haven't imported it. So this is where things start to get new and interesting that you haven't seen before. So up to now, we've been making a single program, right? And we have a main. But we actually don't want this main package to be a command. In fact, you very rarely want the main package in your module to be a command. You almost always want the main top level of your module to be a package. And then you're going to put the commands in a conventional place called CMD or CMDS, depending on who you ask. So let's make a directory called CMDs. All right. And I mean, people call it different things. Let's go. I'm going to try to see. So here's an example. You can call it CMD or CMDS. Let's call it just CMD this time. But what I'm trying to show you is, this is an example. This is my Pomo utility, which we should probably start. So this puts a little number up there in the corner. And this, as you can see, is a library. We have a cmd.go here. And so the package name is Pomo because it's a library. It's a package library. It's not, a command. And there's all the code for the bonsai command down here, which we'll eventually do. And then under CMD, we have another directory that's also called Pomo, which is not unusual. And this is where, you can see is way down in here. This is where the actual command lives. Okay. So, and you can see its name, main.go. But if you do it right, the amount of code in your main program will be light because you will have done all the very high level function calls, procedure subroutines, whatever you want to call them, in your main library. So then all you have to do is call pomo.command run. And if you go back, up a bit, we can go in here and we can see cmd.go, and we can see where our command is. So this is a command composed of other commands. So here's the main one. So as you can see, command is a big old structure. We haven't learned about these things yet, but I just want to kind of show you. And inside of it, it has a full description and everything. And then it delegates to a whole bunch of other commands that are composed in. And those commands are down here. And this is where the actual work of the thing gets done. Is there's these functions here that do things to do configuration stuff. And this is pretty advanced for you for at this point. But I just wanted to show you that you've got, you got a top level library called Pomo, and then you also have a command called Pomo. And so we'll let that run. But that means we got to reorganize some things. So let's change commands to CMD. I've seen both, but CMD is probably more popular. And now what do we need to put in here? Well, we need to make, as you know, when we compile a command, it takes the name of the directory as the name of the command. So we have to make another directory in CMD called not Pomo, called greet. All right. And now we can put all of our stuff in there, right? So now we can put, not all of our stuff, but now we can put main in there. So the commander is the path for all packages. No. So the command is specifically for individual commands. All right. In fact, we might actually make a couple of different commands here that change the variables that you're being used. So we're just going to move main into CMD and into greet. Okay. And then we can actually, edit it from way up here, and we can say it says main. So we have to change the package. This is still main. It's still main, but it doesn't know how to get to greet, right? Well, that's because we still have a problem here. We're still using, at the top level, we're still using main, right? Well, now we need to change this to greet because now it's a library, right? We can save this and we can say greet underscore test.go. And we change this to greet. All right. And that stuff doesn't have to have any imports, right? And you'll see GoMod is not any different. And then let's go back down here and get our test running again. So it still says it can't find greet. So let's help it out. And we actually might get to use command today. So there is no such thing as a greet, right? So we need to get one. And when I save it, it doesn't import it automatically because it still doesn't know where it is, right? And this is where we have to help it, okay? So if there's two ways to do this. You can actually just explicitly put it here, or you can go up here and you can actually build the top level. So I know that there's no command here to build, but if you do go it'll actually install the package, even though greet is still going to do the same thing, right? It didn't take over that thing. And now, because it installed the library package, when we save it, it should see it. Nope, doesn't see it. Okay, we might have to use go work. I was afraid of that. So we're gonna have to do, for right now, we're gonna have to just type it in. So to github.com, and this is where it gets like hairy. So you might want to go grab that URL from someplace else if you use this big long hairy one, but you have to have the full module name up to 18, and then we'll go to greet. Okay, and then we're going to insert this here, and that should, if we do, oh, I forgot, you know what? I might not need that. I might not need it. Let's try up here. Let's do greet.greet, and then now we're getting somewhere. There we go. Okay, so it found it. So I went ahead and I put greet.greet, right? But now you already see one of the conventions that I'm kind of glad this is coming up, because don't repeat yourself. It's one of the stylistic conventions of Go. And you'll find that your sense of how to organize packages, as it increases, you'll start to see, you'll create, the people, in Go, the Go world regularly use the package name as a part of the symbol name that you might have otherwise put there, kind of like as a big part of things. So you combine it. This is called stuttering in Go, and it's really frowned upon, even though context does it all the time, and I hate it. I actually opened a ticket against Go because of it, and which got rejected, and I don't want to get into it. I think I should have done context.c, but they said no. Anyway, so greet.greet is kind of, that's like, it's like, it doesn't make sense. So, well, how can we change this? I mean, we're sort of in design mode here. What if we change greet to be greet.hi? Let's say maybe we could use greet as a library where we have multiple greetings. We have hello, we have hi, we have how do you do, we have like multiple greetings in there. I mean, that's the whole point of making a package in the first place, right? So let's change it to hi, but what do we have to do that? Well, let's go in here and change greet.go to, instead of greet, we'll say hi. Okay. And undefined greet still says we got a problem. So to figure that all out, that's probably because of the test. Yep, there it is. But see, here's something really cool now. Because we moved greet into its own package, we can now use our package notation just like we would in if we were to publish it. So we can use hi, and down here we could say, let's change it to say hi. But you see our test is actually running now down here. It's actually running. It's not getting any output, but it's running. Right? It's running. I mean, you see, it's still just doing the loggy thing, right? Whoops, I did something. Okay. So as you can see, it's running it and it's saying hi, and we're getting pretty close, right? So let's change our code so our test case runs correctly, but we got more work to do. So let's say, instead of saying log, let's actually make it FMT. If it's FMT, then it will actually print it out. See how it changed it from being a log entry with a date to this? And by the way, what's the difference between standard error and standard out? We talked about that last time, right? So that's printing there. And that by changing it to FMT, we started printing it to standard out as a part of our program instead of just some debugging output. And let's make this the actual output. So let's say hi. All right. And now our test case is failing because the test isn't passing. And I want you to note something here. Writing an example test like this is a really great way to run code without going through the extra work of making a full-blown command, compiling it, and then running that, right? So this is one of the reasons I think that people should default to writing a library package, and then you can immediately test all of your code by writing functions as you go to get the thing to run the way you want to, and then you can just assemble all of those things into your command later and make that command do what you want to. It's just like the act of composition in a more practical sense than in an official, solid sort of, object-oriented programming sense, if you've heard about that. It's just kind of an easy way to approach programming in general, because the hardest thing with a compiled language is getting it to run. And the next step would then be to test it. Well, an example test gives you both of those things right away. And there's no crazy, test framework you have to memorize or anything. You just have to push output here, and you put a line out there, and you just make sure that the output of that matches, right? And if you're doing something that doesn't have output, you can, do some tricks inside of your example here to capture that output and then print it out. If you want to test things that are a little bit trickier there. This does get a little bit hard when you start to test things that are based on time, or things that you don't know what the exact value is going to be, and then your tests get kind of convoluted. Like, is it this many characters? Don't kill yourself on that. It's more important to do prototype oriented programming development than it is test driven development. I'm not a fan. In fact, Bill Kennedy just this week tweeted. Bill Kennedy leads the Go Developer Network. He's probably one of the most active trainers of Go programming out there. And he recently tweeted that he's not a fan of TDD, which is writing these like really isolated use cases and then making sure they happen. He's more a fan of prototype driven development, which includes something that works. That may or may not have unit tests, but unit tests is when you test a tiny little piece of the program like we're doing here. Prototype testing would be not only this, but it would also be how does the thing run in a larger scale? And the test that you write for that might be a description of how someone should be watching it, a story about the requirements that we wrote, right? And a human being would look at the prototype and evaluate whether it's doing what it's supposed to do, as opposed to having it be completely and totally automated. And that is, by the way, a huge point of controversy, TDD versus prototype-driven development. There's, and I'm not going to take sides here. I'm going to say I'm a very practical person, and there's a lot of things that you can't test from a Go test case of any kind. Go is one of the better languages that provide, including entire mock-ups of web servers, so that you can test if your web service is working correctly from your code, which is remarkable. You got to understand, I grew up in the 90s when being able to test a web server was just absolutely amazing. But people have different definitions of what TDD is and everything. Is it good for you to capture how your code should be working before and write that down in some fashion while you're doing it? Yeah, incrementally as you go, and that's what we did. We did that when we wrote our requirements, right? And you can do the testing by just looking at the output of the program, or you can do the testing by just writing the behavior and then having a QA engineer actually run it. I know, God forbid you don't automate the testing. I mean, right now, suggesting that you should produce code that requires a human to actually participate in the full testing is almost heresy in the CI/CD automation culture that we have running right now. But if you look at all the SolarWinds hack and a number of really, really major hacks, they would have been avoided if you had a human involved in the final QA testing process. And you can call me old-fashioned and all that other stuff, but though you cannot remove humans from the equation of testing, and you definitely need users at some point to participate. And if you're not doing user acceptance testing, you're failing anyway, because now you don't even know what you're making. You're just making something you think a user wants. You should have a user actively involved with the development all along the point. So I know that's a little soapboxy, but I think it's important to talk about it right here. All right. So, anyway, we've got this test passing now. We kind of made it pass, right? But it's not quite fulfilling the requirements. We only have well, yeah, we're doing some other stuff right now. We're doing the boost thing. So we've got a test, let's think up some other tests. So if I were to do, so if it just says hi and there's no argument, it just prints hi. That's, how about this? How about we do this? How about if there's no argument, we do hi. This is going to be a tough one though. I just realized we're going to challenge some of this, because we're not going to be able to prompt for interactive input. Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. I don't know if we're even going to be able to make a test case for that at all. Hi, what's your name? So let's say, hi, what's your name? If there's nobody there, let's do that. The point is we want to greet them by name, right? So hi, what's your name? Your name. So now, whoops. Did I get it wrong? What did I do wrong? Oh. All right, so we're passing again. But if we have, let's make another test case. So let's say greet with arguments. Okay, so if we have an argument, we should be, let's say, hi name, right? And we'll say the name is a string. Actually, no, let's say hi Rob, right? That should say hi Rob, nice to meet you. All right, so that's, we're kind of, this is a little TDD. We're writing it before we wrote the code. That's essentially a main part of that. Okay, so we're obviously breaking because we can't have too many arguments. So we need to think about how to do that. We can do that right now. We can actually write another test case. So if we have an argument, we want to put it in the argument. And we need to do, we'll come back in and write these tests as we go. I want to do one at a time. If we could actually go through and write a test case for each of the requirements right now. And so if you can do that, or you can do them one at a time. So the first requirement is we just want it to say, hi, what's your name, if there's nobody there. Otherwise, we want to have it prompted for the name. So right now it's printing this, right? I am a little bit troubled because I think it's gonna hang. Because we need to prompt it for this. This should actually hang, and I'm trying to decide how to pull that off. I think. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. It's actually easier with arguments. So let's do that one first. I'm trying to decide which one is gonna not confuse you the most. So if we have an argument, that should be easy. So let's go make it have an argument. We did this last week already, so I don't need to refresh this. Right? We have. So this has an argument. If we put name here, right? Okay. And hi string, nice to meet you. We'll let you test it. Take input a separate step. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, we need to get input, right? So actually, that's an implementation detail which normally would not go in the requirements, but I think it's handy to put it in there. So into a single argument, let's say this. Let's say write a separate function to read one line of standard input. Did I write that right? All right, so that and prompt for name, yes, yeah, let's put that in there. That's a great way. Okay, so I told you this was organic. It'd be a parameter. The argument is a value, yeah. Which one? Combine all the arguments into a single argument, into a single argument. No, this is correct. If the command arguments passed, assume they are name. Yeah, those are arguments. Where would you think it is an argument? If no arguments passed, greet generically, prompt for the name. All right. Yeah, you're right. I just don't see which one that would apply to. So, name is greet function is referred to. We don't have that anymore. We have a hi function. So the hi function takes a parameter called name. Yeah. Yep. Takes a single parameter. Yep. Did I say argument? If I did, I meant parameter. So what is your name? So here we can do, we already learned this last time. We learned about this. We learned about printf, and we learned about how to pass values. Yeah. And So we'll put nice to meet you. Okay, so we've gone ahead and made that sort of contrived example work. If they pass hi, nice to meet you. Now, the problem is, what if there isn't a thing? So we need to do another test case though. The other test case is this. We want to say, well, we need to. What's really going to be hard is, remember the whole thing about prototype testing? To test the command itself, we're going to do some stuff that can't be coded easily. We're going to need to test that it takes an argument. And so right now, it's not taking an argument, right? We're just writing it in a test case mode, but we really haven't added this to our program. Created a regression. Regression tests. Make sure we added something back to make sure our functionality is still there. So here we have greet.hi. Now this won't compile. So let me show you how to do a build for this. So you go install, and you have to do /cmd greet / and that will make it. Okay, but it's not going to build it because why? Because it needs a string. So this is a reminder. What happens if we don't have a parameter, right? So the need for that parameter is here, right? So, we can do a couple things here. We could try to make, this is why I'm saying, make up your own version of this. We could make the hi function take multiple arguments if there's nothing there. We could do like hi, like we did with hi, you know what I'm saying? So actually, or we could say, there's just so many things we could do here. So I actually, before, if there's no argument, then we want to actually ask them their name, right? Now in the hi program, we actually filled in the name with a default name of there, but this is a little bit different. We want to actually prompt it for that. We could still make it do that. So in this case, we're not going to make the hi this optional. To make it optional, we would do that, right? And then if there's no name there, we could say if the length, we did this last time, right? If the length of name equals 0, there's lots of ways, but we say name equals there. It just doesn't work here, right? Because it doesn't quite work. Right, so there's the type string constant. And type string constant is string value. What? Oh, no, we would change this to args. And like the args, we'd say name equals there. If the length of args equals 0, then name equals, actually, if the length of args is greater than 1, this is why we can't use the main thing. Then name equals args. We already did this, args1, and hi there. But see how it's not going to work, because it's like hi there, nice to meet you. That it doesn't quite work. So that's what we did in the hi program, and that's kind of a review. But we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to name, and we're gonna be pretty strict here. We're like, no, you need to send me a name. If you're gonna do any of this inferring from the thing, then that needs to go in the program and not the library. And that's the right place to put it, by the way. Stuff that has to do with interacting with the user on the command line has no business being in the package library, because the package library should be written to be solid no matter what. That means if I grab that name from a web input form or something else, we shouldn't have specific details about how to get this parameter filled with an argument in the package library, the high-level package library itself. That stuff is a detail about how the command executes, and picking where stuff goes based on, its use is a super big part of development. And it's another thing they won't talk to you about, right? So in this case, it seems like the best place to combine those arguments and deal with them is in the command, right? And what we're end up producing here is we're going to produce a package library that could be called from anything. It could be called from anything, and it doesn't care about whether it has the command line involved, right? And so by doing that, we can we can put those details in here. So we obviously have to have Rob here or something there. If I put that there, that'll fix it and it'll make it so it passes. And go back and do our build. Where's my build? And I regularly do this. So, and then we can just get greet, and you'll see, hey Rob, nice to meet you. Oh, we got a command line problem too that we didn't see. See, once again, it's good to not always do your test case because our test case missed that, right? Our test case missed this because there's an automatic implied line ending at the end. Well, in that case, we didn't get it. So we have a bug that we didn't even catch. So we want to make sure to go in here and put a back command / in there. And that will actually fix our other bug. So to me, prototype testing involves a little bit of unit testing and a little bit of this. Right now, we still have a problem though, because if I say greet Doris, it'll be like, nope, got the wrong person. So we need to go change that. And how are we going to do that? Well, let's go down into our, deep down into our command down there, and we're going to do this. So we already know how to get the arguments, right? So the first thing we're going to do, and this is not complete, but we're just going to say, so if let's write a conditional. So if let's see, length of os.args is greater than 1, then we have an argument, right? Then we'll actually in this case, we're just going to define a variable. If a variable does not have a value in it, you should probably use var instead of the walrus operator. It's pretty much an idiom to do that. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to say, so then we want the name. So the name is empty. If it's greater than 0, then the name equals, those things combined, right? So we could do os.args 1, but you'll see that that's not going to fulfill all of the requirements, if you remember, right? Say, name declared but not used. You got to use your variables here. So we want to change this to name. There's a lot of people who complain about that. I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. Oh, it's blank. Why is it blank? Huh. It's blank. Huh. No, it's 1. It's 1, my friend, because the indexes are start at 0. Yeah. It's greater than 1. Yeah. Yeah. Because, it is pretty damn easy. Yeah. So that's, people hate it because it's so easy. I love it. They say it's unsexy. I don't want to do that. Whatever. Okay. You have fun while I'm getting shit done. Yeah, that's what it's designed to be. So same with Python, by the way. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is a problem because we don't have a name, right? We had no name here. So to do, we have a to do here. To do, check if name empty prompt for input. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I know. Lewis starts at 1. Yes. Yeah. There's tons of positions for it online. Yeah. Anyway, so how many? We got 24 minutes there. So we do have some code to write there, but let's just remind ourselves and go back to this thing, and we're gonna do that. Let's do our thing though. Greet Rob. All right. Greet Rob. Stein. That's my last name. I spelled it wrong. Wait, why is my last name on there? Isn't it one of our requirements? One of our requirements is combine all arguments into a single argument. So it's not. It's just taking the first one. We want to combine all of the arguments into one. So we haven't done that before. Let's do that. So let's do that. All right. Well, we know that we have all the arguments in os.args, right? So rather than just picking out the first one, or the second one, sorry, the first one is 0, and that's always the name, if you'll remember. In fact, let's do it. You guys want to see what the 0 looks like? This is why it's not 0. Hi, greet. The first one is a program name. So that's why it got the wrong thing, right? So let's go back. But we want to combine everything from 1 on. So we do 1 colon, right? And now we need to combine all those things. You can't just do name like that, like you could in Python or something. You have to combine them. So you do strings.join, right? And then we'll give it a space. And we'll give it a space. So strings.join, strings is a library that you just have to learn about. There's all kinds of stuff in there. And that'll, put them together. So you also use for trimming things. And so now when we run it, it should say, hey, wrong spelled last name. Nice to meet you. So it got the right thing. Okay. So here we go. So we got our first test case working we have a test case that if we wanted to, we could write it up and say, run it as a command and try the following things. And yes, you can write convoluted, crazy Unicode to do that checks whether it's being written and from a terminal or it's being called, because the number of variables, arguments is going to change if it's running from a test case, blah, blah, blah. We did this last week, but last week we saw that when you actually run a test case, when you do go test, it makes a compiled binary and then runs it and then checks the output and stuff. That's exactly what it does. The problem is it injects a whole bunch of other arguments. So if your code is doing any argument numeric checking for stuff, it doesn't work. You can't use it. You have to throw that out. There are ways around that, but that's, it's generally not a good idea to code it that way. So, but we figured, I think we've got our stuff here. So so now we need to make the prompt. Now this is where Go departs from the easy path. And this is where you're probably going to want to start to create your own library of common functions and packages. And I knew this was coming, but it's important. First of all, and I want to put this in our summary, avoid interactive input in general. Can anybody think of why? We're about to make some interactive input that sits around and waits for you to type something in if there's no argument. Can anybody think of why that kind of code could be bad in a production environment when it's combined with a bunch of other commands and tools? And as somebody who's written hundreds of tools at this point for production environments, it is usually always, we're talking about tools development, command line tools development, things that are going to become commands. Yes, injections, stalling. There's a number of reasons that prefer arguments or variables. Okay, it is generally or file input. There's another way. It's generally bad practice, not always. Stalling would be, so let's say your program becomes a part of another script. So somebody writes a bash script and they use your really cool little program that you wrote, and your program, it gets run, that script gets run in a situation where there's no arguments. And then your script ends up stalling out because it's sitting in there waiting for someone to type something in. Right? So these kind of tools, there are some techniques you can use. I've actually got a library for this you can check. It's called is.terminal. And you can check whether you're using an interactive terminal or not. And by the way, we covered that in Bash as well. Yeah, it's like when you forget -y when you're doing apt-get. Absolutely, that's a perfect example, roasted function. So again, this whole boost is preparing, operations, utility authors, and that kind of thing. So I want you to think about how your tools are going to be used by others, because it's super important. Like if you're making an interactive story game, that is a very, very different use case than writing a modular, Unix philosophy sort of tool that you're going to use in there, except for Unix filters. Everybody remember what a Unix filter is? Let me give you an idea of what a Unix filter is. Okay, so a Unix filter is something that I can do like this, and I can run CMT, and it will inject a comment in the front of everything, right? And a Unix filter is specifically designed to read standard input and to modify that input in kind of a functional way and then to produce the output. Right? Now that is a case where you expect it to block. You expect it to look for standard input and output, right? And if you don't do that, it's broken. And there's a lot of functions that do that. So just be aware of what kind of tool you're making. If you're making a Unix filter for VI, or you're making a tool suite of things for VI, I mean, when I do like this hnow, that's a filter, right? It goes out, it runs a program, and it generates the stuff on the output, all that stuff. If I wanted to do, so zpomo, right? Bang, bang, zpomo. That'll print out my current pomo setting with my tomato right there, right? So there are times when you want some, these don't modify standard input, but you see my point. Like if you wanted to write a filter that automatically calculated up all the totals, and assuming there was a number in the left, and then print the total at the bottom, you could do that. But that's a filter. And even that's not interactive input. It just means it takes standard input. So you have this kind of like really dynamic interactive input, which is like a story game. You have Unix filter input, which is just a bunch of lines coming in on STDIN. And then you have non-interactive stuff, which takes arguments or environment variables, which we covered in Bash. And those are generally preferred, okay? Because that way, I mean, you saw how much easier it is to test. The thing that we're doing right now, you can't even write a test case. I mean, you can't, but it's you can't do it in the Go test the framework very easily. So, I'm kind of like on the fence here about whether we should even put a prompt here, but I do want to show you how to make the prompt, and you're going to see how hard it is to make a prompt. And that's what I'm a little bit leery of introducing it to you right now. I mean, in Python, you do, what is it? How do you do standard input in Python? I can't remember. It's like get input or something. It's like read or something. It's like really simple. In Bash, it's like read. It's like literally one word. So you can say read line, right? Hello there, right? And then you're like echo line, hello there. I mean, that's how easy it is to read it. Sys and read. Yeah, we're not going to use anything from sys. That's like an important thing. So, yeah. In fact, I'm going to show you that. So, yeah. I think you're thinking of something else too, by the way. Yeah, you're thinking like there's no SKILSTAK. There's that's Python. Yeah, that's definitely Python. Right. So, but thank you for saying that. I was asking about Python. So yeah, there's other, the JavaScript even, and actually JavaScript is kind of hard too, because it's, it's all event driven and everything. Anyway, so because Go is a lower level language, it doesn't make any assumptions about where the stuff is coming from. It gives you a std in and std out. We already talked about that last week, but it doesn't make assumptions about how you're going to read that standard input, right? And in fact, it takes kind of a convoluted approach to this. And if somebody out there knows of a better way to do that, please let me know. But as of this moment, the official way to read a line from Go is honestly, it's to start a scanner and then to increment the scanner by 1 and read one line and then put that line into a variable, and then you can use that line. And I am really sad to say that is not really beginner friendly. So we are going to do that now. Now, I have libraries that do this. So I'm going to go look at that. If you do a search, so this is say, how do I read one line of standard input in Golang? And you'll find there's many answers out here. So I'm kind of happy that we're covering this for that, because it'll save you some hassle. Yeah, this is the one that does new buffered IO, string reader equals new reader, ReadString. No, that's not good. That is not good at all. I don't think that's good. No, because it's reading up to the first line return. But what about carriage return, line return? I mean, I guess that's one way you could do it. I don't know. I don't know if I like that one. There's another one here that I know is more standard. No, man, it looks like a lot of people are doing that these days. Look at that. There's another answer that's gotten up. Maybe they got a new one. I'm using links. We did a whole thing on it 3 weeks ago. Yeah, there's a W3M or links. Passing a reader to the lib is a good idea. We're always going to have to use the reader. Yeah. But that's not the way that I learned it. So I want to make sure that this is still a new way. So this is how I learned it. So you make a new scanner that's read standard in, and you read. So scanner.text gives you one line of text. If this is if you want to read all of the input instead of just a single line. So that I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so let's learn the simpler way. Yeah. So let's do that. Let's do that for this one. This is why we do a boost every year. That's why I learned Go every year. Because stuff changes. The Go 1.19, they probably added even newer stuff than this. And anything that has IO util is deprecated. Don't read it. It's deprecated. It just makes the code outside. Just makes you code. Oh, yeah. So we have this. We have read string line. So this is the way to read a line. It reads up to a line return. The reason that I'm leery of this is what if there is no line return? So if you like, for example, if you wanted to automate this and send standard input to it, yeah, you would wait forever. So the scanner one is actually better. It's more robust, but it's harder. But for the kind of thing that we're doing right now, there's also what if you have a line that doesn't end with line return. Now, thankfully, all lines. We should probably put this in the summary. Line endings. Okay, so there are a number of line endings out there. There is CRLN line feed, carriage return line feed. There's line feed, and there is just carriage return. And I know that they have not been around for a long time. Color coding, do a set of time. Yeah, but yeah, we don't need that. So, I mean, this is a relatively easy thing, so I don't want to overly complicate it, but I just want you to know that when you're starting to read input, you gotta, we're not reading every character, but it is important that you understand that. Now, here's a question. Why are we having single quotes here? So we're going to introduce a new idea here, runes. So it says here that we want to read, we're going to make a new string reader, and we're going to read up to that line, right? And it's going to read the whole entire string from os.Stdin, which we already covered, and up to that line return. All right, so let's go ahead, and this is one of those cases where copying and paste coding is totally okay. So we're going to put that in, and but rather than put it here, we could put it here, but we already know we're going to do it. So let's do that. Let's replace our to-do with something else. Let's first of all paste this. Oopsie. Did I not do it? I must not have. All right, so let's go ahead and leave this up here. We know we're going to use it. And let's replace our to-do, which is usually a thing. Let's replace our to-do with a function call. We could say, so if the length of name, you could say the length of name is empty, or you could just say if name equals empty string, same thing. And if the name is empty, then let's go get a name. So name equals read line. Now, you can put read line here. You can put read line, anywhere you want. We're leaving it lowercase because we think it's not going to be used outside of here, and we just want to put a nice place to put it. Let's not do that though, because actually no, let's do that because read line is going to be really, really hard to test from our unit test. So let's go ahead and just have it be here. So func read line, and it uses mixed case. That's Go convention. So read line, we don't even need that. It's going to return a string, which is the first time you've seen a return value. So it's going to return a string, and we have it return line. right? Now, this is one of those cases where if we have an error, we probably shouldn't ignore the error. So you haven't seen this before, and I really wanted to show you this. So I know we're doing this very incrementally, but this is the way we're going to do it. So this is a function that returns two things. It returns a string, and if you want to know what it is, hover over it and do capital K in VI. You hear what I said? So this gives you, this looks up the docs. You don't have to go look them up. And it says, okay, it's a function. It's a bufio.NewReader. It takes in a reader, and maybe you don't know what a reader is. So you might want to look that up. You know, you can go on a reader and do Command K. Actually, you have to go look that up, but you could do that. Yeah, there we go. All right, so and you can go look up what a reader is. Essentially, a reader is just an interface, anything that's got a read command, and you pass that in, and then it'll go and it'll go read from that thing. It's an abstraction. I don't want to get into interfaces too early, but that's what it does. And then we have this standard reader, which is os.Stdin, which tells you our open files pointing for K for knowledge. Yes, the standard input. Note that Go sometimes writes the standard error for panics and crashes. So we talked about, you know, standard in, standard out, and all that. And then we have ReadString. So ReadString is reads until the first occurrence of the limit in the input. No, this is just Vim. Returning a string containing the data up to the and including the delimiter. If ReadString encounters the errors before finding a delimiter, it returns the data. Any Vim will do this. Yeah, any language. And itself, ReadString returns error does not equal nil. For simple use, you can scan. So you can go down here. You should be able to. Actually, I think that's it. That's all there is. It's just basic. And you might, if you want to get the full thing, you can do go doc. Thank you for that. If you could do go doc io.reader, and that'll give you the full thing, which you can go in up and read. And so you're going to be doing a lot of reading. I'm kind of skipping past the reading, but just remember that you should be regularly, you know, doing that while you're going through it. Otherwise, you're going to have gaps. It's a little bit more fun to do a project like this and learn it as you go, because you can get something done and then kind of see it work and then read about it, as opposed to just reading through the book, you know, forgetting everything. But this has got a lot of stuff in it. There's a lot of stuff. So bufio is a package like we talked about. And I don't know if you saw, but as soon as we save this, it added bufio automatically to the top to import it. And it's, you know, it gives us a new reader, which passes os.in, and it reads the string up to this thing with single quotes. So this is the first occurrence of a character escape and a rune, something called a rune. Oh gosh. And so the thing to note here, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. So this thing here is a rune. So what is a rune? A rune, you can do man ASCII on Linux, and it'll show you, and we're going to cover octal, decimal, and hexadecimal. We're going to write a program that talks about what they are. So don't panic, right? Don't panic. Those are just the number equivalents of what the characters are. And down here we have a bunch of stuff. Now, we talked some time ago about the origins of the terminal and how it comes from a teletype machine, a TTY. And that was when we recognized that there are new lines and vertical tabs and form feeds and carriage returns. And these are all directly from and you can go watch the Unix system that we watch on Christmas every time, and, you know, do Mystery Science, 3000 kind of commentary on it, where Dennis Ritchie is actually coding on a teletype machine. He's typing and he's coding Unix in C, and he's watching the printer type as it goes, because there was no screens yet. And so yeah, as you're going through those kind of things. So that's what's up with a new line and a vertical. That's why we have a form feed. A form feed was to just go up an entire one form, and then you rip the paper off. And a backspace, we have a new line, which goes up one line, and then you have a carriage return, which would move the carriage return all the way to the beginning. Now, technically speaking, carriage return line feed is the proper way to manipulate a thing. But sometime along the path, Unix and Mac dropped the carriage return and just did \n. Now, if you're doing IETF HTTP transactions, which is, you know, the standard definition for a line return in the IETF specification for HTTP is still carriage return line feed. Now they've allowed it to be, that's kind of for the veterans out there watching. So don't think you can just drop that and be okay. But because the line return comes at the end, you can say, or the new line, you can say, okay, we'll just look for new line as the end here. Now, the problem with this though, is that if you're on a Windows system or some system that actually has a carriage return in there, then it's going to have, and we're going to test that, it's going to actually have an extra piece of junk at the end of it. It's going to have an extra control M in it. So this code is wrong. That's what I'm trying to tell you, okay? This code right here, as we're looking at it, is wrong. It's totally wrong because it will read up to the line return, and there might be a carriage return right before that, and it will put it into the line as a part of the value. And I'm going to show you that. So, in fact, so much so that we should probably put that in our test case. Yeah, I'm going to take readline out of here, and we're going to put readline right into greet because I want to show you this because this is a big thing when making utilities. It's very easy to fail. Let's see. Hey, how's it going? So we're gonna make example readline. All right. And once again, you know, Stack Exchange is wrong. In fact, this is wrong. I am not teaching it this way. The Stack Exchange is wrong. I'm gonna change my mind right now. This is totally wrong, and I can show you I can break it. You want me to break it? Dude, I cannot tell you how many times Stack Exchange is just dead wrong. And this is one of those times. I'm going to go back to my Safeway because the scanner does the right thing. It looks for carriage return or line return. It does not do this. No. Let me show you why this is broken. Okay, we're going to actually write a test case for this, and we're going to break this crap. And this is probably going to be way longer than you ever wanted to go to on this, and I'm sorry. They're almost over. But I just want to prove it to everybody. All right, so we're going to do an example readline. So in this example, we're going to say line equals readline, right? All right, so and then we can give it. Let's give it a reader. Yeah, we'll give it a reader. So and we'll make a reader out of a string. This is complicated, but I just want to show you. So it's making the wrong assumptions. It's making this. So people are going to read a line and they're going to have a carriage return at the end on Windows. Yeah, they are. And it's not going to trim the line. So you can do it as long as you trim the line, but none of them do. None of these trim the line. So they're all wrong. They're like wrong. So let's make a new reader. So it's like sr equals strings dot, what's a new reader? Golang create a string reader. I don't remember how to make a string reader. I got to go look it up again. So you can turn strings.NewReader s. There we go. You can turn any string into a reader. So it's as if it were standard input or something, right? So here we go. We're going to make sample carriage return line feed, which is Windows, right? And then we're going to say string reader sn, readline from a reader, right? And we'll say we want it from greet.readline. I mean, we could make this private. It doesn't have to be public, but whatever. Yeah. If we want, well, you know what we should do? You want to do this properly? Let's do this really properly. Let's make a directory in here called internal. And we're going to cd into internal. Whoops. Damn it. All right, so we're going to cd into internal. And we'll make a internal.go. Or utils or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You can say readline. main.go, right? So we're making an internal package. So this is internal is the package, and we're gonna say example read line, and we'll say instead of strings on NewReader, we'll say internal read line. Yeah, and now we need to do read line. Oops. Test the go, and via read line, and then we do func read line hack for this issue. It is a hack, but I don't want to make it a hack. I want to show people that it's not working, because I don't want people to put crap like that in the production code. And the first thing they're going to find on Stack Exchange is a totally wrong answer, as usual. That's why I told you to use the string buffer stuff, because it's much better, which we're going to get to. You know what? I don't care if this takes forever because I want it to be done right. Danger of... Yeah. We can't have quotes in there. Yes. I want that in there. All right, so read line. So read line takes a reader. So we'll say in io.reader. How's it going, Vitsky? Because other people's mistakes. So read line, and this returns a string. Normally it would return like a bytes buffer, but we'll return a string. What's going on 7? All right, so here's all the different characters, right? And you got the basic ASCII characters like that. So a rune is a single Unicode code point. Basics of Unicode code point. Okay, so what is Unicode? I know you didn't think you wanted all this stuff, but you have to have it. Okay. So, by the way, Rob Pike and was it Kernigan? God. Thompson. Rob Pike and Ken Thompson took the kind of abysmal initial IBM draft of Unicode and redid the whole thing, and it can be credited with who created Unicode. So the same people, the same primary people who created the Go language, created the Unicode code standard. So the same people that gave you Go gave you emojis. That is not an exaggeration. What language would you rather pick? In fact, Go has by far the most advanced Unicode support ever. In fact, on their main page, the Hello World actually has Hello Chinese World or Japanese World symbol, because they have constantly been members of this thing. So Pike, UTF-8 history. You can go read it right there. UTF-8 history. Yes, I don't care. So here's Rob Pike. This is how it was invented. This is how UTF-8 was invented. And I could probably get you this. Oh, shoot. What am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know. What are you doing, Rob? I can't remember. Is it D? Oh, this is something different. Yeah, we're just reading a text file here. Yeah, he's a genius. He's also put satellites in the sky, invented his own operating system. What language do you want to use? That or something that some guy just did in his spare time just to screw around and like, I can't believe this actually works and everybody loves it. I cannot believe that people don't look at this more. It's like, so he basically tells the whole story. So that night Ken wrote a package unpacking code. Why didn't we just install the thing? I think IBM designed it, Plan 9 implemented it. Story originates. At the time, we were so happy UTF-8 was catching up and didn't say anything about the Mongol history. So full kudos to the ex-Open IBM folks for the opportunity of bringing it, around. I asked Russ Cox to dig through the archives. I have attached a message. I think you'll agree. It supports the story I sent earlier. The mail we sent to XOpen, I believe, Ken did the editing and mailing of the document, includes the new dissidentarum number 6 about discovering character boundaries. Yeah. So TikTok backend is mostly Golang, really. Yeah. So the version is made at the date. Here's from the mail, some mailboxes. And basically they did Unicode on a napkin. Where is I trying to find it? Marrying the US standard, the UCS standard with blah blah blah. Multilingual text. However, ASCII / making characters, blah blah blah. Criteria for transmission below the guidelines. So I think this is the original IBM document that got sent, right? So Unicode is a way of taking ones and zeros and turning them into what we know as characters or letters or runes or emojis. The problem is that they ran out, right? So ASCII, we're going to get into binary later, but they ran out of ones and zeros. You know, they only allocated for 7 originally, and then they were like, well, we need more symbols, and then they kept adding on, and then finally the Unicode standard came out and said, look, this is an infinite standard pretty much that goes from 0 to this, which is a very big number, which you can fit all of Klingon and several other, all of Chinese and everything in there. And, you know, people would stop changing, having different standards for how to represent a character or a rune, as Go came to call them, because they needed a character is very. Somebody says char or character, they almost always mean 7 bits, and that is, you know, not maybe 8, because you know extended ASCII with 8, but nobody uses that because it was never standardized. So this is what you get. You get a static table. You get all these things. So I mean, that's probably geeking out way too much on that, but I actually really love it. The tour of Go is nice, but look, if you really look, no, that is so not true, King, and please don't say things that are directly against what I have said 2 weeks ago in the boost. So you clearly haven't watched the other videos yet. I actually last week I spent at least an hour going through the Go learning landscape. And if you don't go through that and you just go run and do the tour, you're doing me a disservice, because I spent a lot of time explaining the problem with the Go learning landscape. Promise me before you go start the tour, you'll at least hear me out and you'll go listen to the video that I made, and do not make suggestions in my stream again without having watched the videos up to this point. Okay? That's all I'm going to ask. That's all I'm going to say. It's the only time I'm going to say it. Because what you're doing is directly going against. I know you haven't. So why are you making a recommendation? I mean, I know you mean well. But do the work first before you start, you know, contradicting me directly, which is what you just did. All right. So let's go. So basics of Unicode. We talked about Unicode. I'm sorry, guys. It's hard. I get frustrated because I waste a lot of my free time on Saturdays doing this stuff. And if I come off a little bit aggravated, that's why. Because when people directly contradict me in my Discord and on my channel who haven't even looked at the stuff I've done, I find that extremely unnerving. So I'm keeping it together. Basics of Unicode. You don't have to do what I tell you, but at least hear me out, and definitely don't go against me in my own forum. All right, basics of Unicode. The tour of Go is incomplete. It's got tons of problems. I went through why it has problems. Even go look at the commits. They have a million to-dos that they haven't finished, and it will frustrate beginners. And I talked about all that last week and the week before. All right. So basics of Unicode. Unicode was, built by Rob Pike. And Thompson and others, I guess. So Unicode is basically this idea of taking a character that we're familiar with, or one that we can't even represent, like a carriage return, and creating a way to write it. And so that's what we get. We get this read line thing, and we get the original thing. Here it is. Okay, so, and we'll go over here and we'll say enter, and we'll paste this out. Okay, so then we have our read line here. Yeah. Let's see here. I mean, that's great for you, but you know, line equals this. So this here is a rune, and it actually pasted it wrong, which is kind of interesting. So you see how it needs a single, yeah, but we don't have any criteria about completed, and it was more than enough. I mean, we don't even know what your rubrics are or what you've developed yet. So I'm just asking you nicely, don't contradict me in my own forum. Don't supplement my stuff unless you've already seen my stuff. All right, so ReadString, or make your own video, make your own Twitch channel. That would be great. We'd love to hear you talk about it. So bufio.NewReader os.Stdin ReadString reads up to a single character, right? And this is what the single quotes mean. So a single quote means a single rune. Okay, double quotes mean a string. That means one or more of those things, right? You can have this, right? Now that won't read because ReadString is looking for. I mean, let's look what ReadString is looking for. So there's K, and we see that it goes up to. You see this delim byte. The delimiter is a byte, a single byte, and a byte, a rune and byte are the same thing. You don't know what a byte is. A byte is 8 ones and zeros, more or less. I mean, that's really rough. We're going to go through that. So it's going through 8 ones and zeros, and you have a string and it returns an error. See how it returns two things though? This is really idiomatic Go. It's a return a string and a return an error. Okay. So the error is almost always ignored in some of these cases, and that's what this is. So there's a lot of stuff here to unpack, and I'm trying to unpack it as we go. So the ignore name, I don't even know if that's the proper way to say it, but this, whenever you assign something to underscore, it just throws it away. Okay, so it's just throws it away. It's like there's something that needs to be assigned here, but I don't care about it, right? And so that's what the underscore is. And then we can go look down here. So yeah, we can go back to here. So you can't read it to a single that's a string. If we try that, we'll get an error. It won't compile. So let's go ahead and try to do a go test here. And you'll see it says cannot use untyped string constant. This is what you get when a strict type language as byte value in an argument, blah, 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 right? So we need to change that back, and we'll put it back to a byte value or a rune. So a rune is, what is a rune in Golang? And you can go read it from the horse's mouth, go to the docs here. And what is a rune? Strings are always defined as characters or bytes. In Golang, strings are always made of bytes. Go uses UTF-8 encoding, which we covered. UTF-8 / Unicode, not the same, but close. So any valid character can be represented and use Unicode code points. All right, so a byte and a rune is actually literally a synonym, the alias of type int32. So a rune is, when you write rune in there, you're writing int32 technically. So you could probably, think of it the same way, but that's kind of the point of that. So we'll keep going on to the next thing. All right, so let's go through. See the ignoring. Let's see, using underscore when you want to ignore a return value. So you can, we did multiple return values, which some people might not understand. I mean, you can't do that any return values in Bash. So that's the first time we've seen return values in the wild. And so yeah, we're back to that same page again. Let's go back to our code. All right, where are we? Weeks 18. I lost my place here, but okay. So let's do greet.go. We did that already. So now we're going to do internal. Does anybody remember, why do we have an internal directory? Why do we have an internal directory? So what does, we covered this already, mean in Golang? This is something that's very, very sparsely covered by any documentation. So internal. Internal directory can't be accessed by other packages. Yes. So we can use exported functions with a capital, just like we would any other place. The difference is that if some other person or package out there besides our module tries to use it, it will fail because it's internal. It says, nope, you can't do that. So it's kind of a middle ground between public exported and private. And it's nice. It's kind of nice because, as I said before, you can take those internal, you can use capitals, which would otherwise be exported and available to everybody, and you can put them in internal packages, and then you can keep them from everybody else. But then you can still kind of find them easy. In the import statements, you'll see the internal there. It's really, shows you that those things are internal, and it's not documented very well, but it's very, very nice addition, if you ask me. So I'm actually going to put this down here as a thing. How to use internal packages. We'll put that in our related section. Use of internal packages. Okay, so let's go back. But that was what was up with that. And I'm gonna stop leaving this. Oops. CD weeks, and we'll go into week 18. Greet internal. All right, so now we're inside. We can run our tests in here. In fact, we can run a test in here. You can find it on the internet. Yeah, it is really common. Yes, it is. How's it going, Metal Storm? So we have our read line here, and we have this line that I'm trying to show you is not complete, and we're going to write a function that does it properly. So you have that, and you can go read. You can reuse that, and you can remember that you did on the Greet project. That's when you learned about how to read input. So here we have our test case. We're going to go in here so we can start running our tests dynamically. Internal, whoops. And we'll run in here, whoops. And we'll go and we'll run our tests. And you can see we got lots of bugs here. So let's fix those bugs. So we have line equals internal read line. And this is the internal, so this is an internal test. So now it's going to do the right thing. You always put the underscore test when you're using example tests, in my opinion, because example tests are useless if they're localized, because in the examples that get produced, don't show the user how they would actually use it. They show them how you would use it privately, which is useless. So in my way of thinking, example tests should always have underscore tests at the end of them, always. If you're going to do another kind of test, they don't necessarily need that. You can write, and we will eventually learn this, you can use the standard testing library package that comes with it. It's much more exhaustive, but doesn't produce the documentation. So I'm really hammering home this idea of example tests first, and then if you can't do it with that, go the other way, because then you get free docs out of it. Okay, so... But again, that's always going to mean you put an underscore there. And now it's like, well, why would I document an internal package? You never know. You might end up copying and pasting these tests out and deciding you want to export some of them. And when you do that, you don't have to change anything. That's also why I like internal, because my examples, I just, dap that, and I can take it on its way, and go someplace else without having to rechange all the, the export prefix, which is the first letter. So example read line. So we got a read line that's not working. Line declared but not used. Let's see, we have SR return line. So actually, in this case, we need to do a print. So again, you always have to have output here. You can also have unordered output. A lot of people don't know this. If you do unordered output, then it does, if the lines are mixed up or randomized, it does not matter. It will still work. So you might want that sometimes. And then on the output here, we're just going to say, so this should be, now this is going to be a problem because in fact, we're going to actually see, this is really cool because we're actually going to see a case where the test that we're doing is going to need some modification to work well, because example tests have this idea of line returns and printing in them, which is going to kind of get in our way here. Do not use testify. Dude, I talked about avoiding testify last week. Testify is a massive over-engineered piece of crap that no one should use, especially for their first 2 years. Okay? I'm sorry, my friend. I got to time you out for a while. I don't want to hear any more stuff that I have to divert from. We haven't learned about testify. I didn't talk about testify. If you go jumping as a beginner and you start to use testify, you're going to be doing it wrong. Do you know how many times I've run into testify users who've never even learned how to make example-based tests and have absolutely crappy documentation because of it? Because they want a test framework. Guess what? You have a test framework. It comes with Go. Learn it. Pretend like you didn't even hear that. And okay, this is a tough day today. Okay, I know people are trying to help, but my God. All right, so here we go. Line equals. The guy who made testify, by the way, is also the guy who runs the Go. The guy I read Pandex, sorry, is also the guy who runs the Go Time podcast, and he's generally a very nice guy. But I hate testify with a deep, abiding passion. There's almost no reason ever to use it, and almost always it complicates the test frameworks of the packages that use it to the point where they're incomprehensible and they no longer serve as a way to be able to get really acquainted with the package really quickly. Because if you're coming to a new complicated package, where do you go to figure it out? You go to the documentation and you go to the tests, and you pray to God that somebody has simplified the test in a way that can be expressed in an example test. Because if they've written testify or a bunch of convoluted test framework crap, there's no way you can decipher what that thing does by looking at the test cases. And if that's the case, you've written a shitty package. There, I'm done. I have strong opinions about that. The people mean well, but I really, really hate that. There's nothing I hate more than going into, because I regularly open up Cloud Native stuff to go look at the internals and see what it's doing and see how it operates. And the best place to do that is looking in the tests. And every time I open up something that's been totally convoluted with a bunch of unnecessary testify shit, I lose it, as I'm doing right now. So I'm going to kind of get my composure back before we go on, but do not do that. Learn example tests and learn the test framework that we haven't covered yet, because I want you to really learn example tests first, because you get free documentation out of it. Okay, so anyway, let's go back here. Let's do line declared but not used, missing return. Okay, so we do not have anything that's printing out right here, so we need to actually do that. So let's do that. Let's do fmt println. Remember, it's got to be the standard output, and we'll print the line. Now, you don't have to do it like that. You could have put internal read line here, but we're just going to do it this way. All right. So we still have an error there with the actual test. So let's go read the read line, and we have a read line takes in a reader, and then it returns a string, right? And we're also not returning that string. So let's do this. Let's return line, and now we have a line that's returning. So, 17. Okay. So this code is good. Let's actually not ignore the error. Okay. It's actually considered bad practice to ignore the error. And I agree. I think there's a million things wrong with that stack exchange. You should almost never ignore errors. People do it all the time. So, and this is the case where we get the first complaint about Go. The biggest complaint about Go is having to write this. If error equals that equal, now it's a macro that I have. They hate it. Everybody hates it because it forces you to deal with the error right there. And then the people have proposed Python exceptions in Go like at least 4 times, and they always get shot down. Now, the reason that the errors are here, okay, so why deal with error so often? Let's see, say, okay, dealing with, how about, what do we want to call this? So Golang error handling philosophy. Error handling philosophy. Or just kick it down the road into the caller all the way up to main. Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, you could do that too. I think that's probably better. Because then they'll get the error, right? And or another way to do that would be to deal with it here and log it, right? But I think it's probably not good to do that. I think I agree with that completely. And in fact, once we do that, guess what? We can just do this. Return bufio.reader bum, right? How about that? Now we can really kick it down the line, right? So, but we need to change our test. Our test case is no longer matching. So let's go over here, and we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to do readline, but now we don't just want a line. We got to have error here. And yes, it's usually ERR. Error is declared but not used, so this is where you would ignore it, right? But we're not going to do that. If we have an error, we're actually going to write it. So, and I'm going to use my little macro here to print this. I'm not going to return it. In this case, I'm going to print it, and that'll make my test case miss because it'll have the error string will print out, which will be readable by the user in the sandbox or wherever they're using it. Another reason to do example tests is because in the documentation, it gets saved up in the Go sandbox. You can actually run it. You can run the example tests that are there. If you use the other test frameworks, you can't do that. So you're losing the opportunity to have people interact with your package through the sandbox, where they can actually change it and change the values and see how it works. It's a real travesty because it's very common to not do anything with example test cases. So readline go test readline test.go line 1 return value. Oh, why did I put a return value there? That was stupid. All right, so there we go. So got EOF. All right. Okay. Okay, we got an EOF there. So internal readline SR. So it looks like we got an error here. In fact, let's go ahead and print it. Let's go ahead and print error. Let's just put error print. I mean, it's kind of overkill because we already have it, right? But it doesn't hurt. And see if we get it. No, that actually wasn't an error. So that's interesting. So we did not get an error in the error thing. And then we can let's just return. If you do return like this causes it to fail before it prints, right? So let's leave that in there for now. And to see, but as you can see, we don't have any errors for some reason. Oh, there it is. Error EOF. So we did get an error, right? We got an error here. And so what are we going to do about that? It obviously gave us an error. It said we got to the end of file. Internal.readline SR. What's not working about our thing? Let's go look. So readline.go. Return bufio.NewReader os.Stdin. Oh, here's the problem. You see this? That was from our example, right? We're passing in stdin, and there is no input in stdin. So we need to pass in input here. So input comes from here. Oh my gosh, we passed for now. But it's actually not correct. And I'm going to show you why. So when we go to print the line, right? Instead of printing the actual line, we're gonna do something fancier. We're gonna do something fancier. All right, we're gonna print the actual value, right, of the line, and we're gonna quote it. Okay, this time we're going to print a quote. And as you can see, it's wrong. So it's not what you expect anyway. Okay, so this is taught you a couple things. So a lot of times when you're printing things, especially when you're doing example tests, don't forget to use printf q. And what q does is, what printf q does is it actually escapes any of the invisible characters so that you can see them. So that when you're doing a nice, simple, easily documented example use case, you can see the quoted characters. All right. And people don't know this. This has been a real common thing that people don't know. So now you see how the sample fails, right? Well, is that what we wanted? I mean, what did we want? We wanted to get rid of that stuff at the end, right? And so the first thing we realized is that, I don't know if you remember, but when we were back on the Stack Exchange, it didn't say anything about getting rid of this stuff at the end of the line at all. Not one of those posts in that Stack Exchange thing that suggested that we read like this do that. Now we're going to fix it using a safe way that's in addition to the mistaken Stack Exchange stuff as usual. Works only for string. No, it works for anything. Yeah. What it does is it turns it into its quoted version of the string. So it does a string conversion on the object if it can marshal it to a string, which is pretty much everything. All the standard types have that. And then in addition to that, it also will put double quotes around it safely so that it can be used in ways that are, so like, this is super important if you're like trying to check for an empty value. It's like, if you're trying to check for an empty value in an example-based test, the only way to do it is with a Q, because then it will put two empty quotes and you can see that it's doing that. Okay. And there's lots of other fun things with printf that you can go look at, but that's one of the main ones. I mean, technically we should probably put a back in there, but we really don't need to do that because, it's just the one line, right? So, okay. So the first thing we see here is it's not at all what we thought it was. If I go back to an S though, I'll pass. Bam. See that? And that might be one of the reasons that people fear example-based tests, because there are ways to make it not work when what you really want is the quoted version, and then it doesn't pass because it's got that crap at the end, which is the whole point that got us into this tangent. So we're going to actually fix that by going over here, and instead of returning this whole thing, we actually can't return it like that. If we're going to do a read line, work for, yeah. So the question is here, do we want to return it the way ReadString returns it, or do we want to do the proper thing and properly trim that string? Now, if I were using this readline thing, I would want it to, trim it. Speaking of which, let's do some documentation on our newfound thing. So, comment function documentation. Okay, let's do some stuff here. I usually wait until the end of a thing, close to the end, to do it, because a lot of times what it does will change and I'll have to change the documentation. Plus it can kind of be hard to read. That's why I have it dark, by the way. I don't like having my documentation in my face all the time while I'm writing my code. But so I can say read line. And by the way, the convention for writing these is always begin with the name. And when you're writing a documentation for a package, you can say package internal, right? But we're not gonna document that. This is only for our purposes, but we're gonna say, so you might as well make it so that it's readable by anybody. You can say readline takes any io.reader and returns a trimmed string or an empty string and error if any error is encountered. Now that's quite a bit more stuff there, right? So we have to do more things there. So now we actually have to check for it. So we say, so we're going to get rid of this return value, return it or whatever. We could return out, let's say. And we want it to, when we say trim string, I'm talking about trimming the front and the back. initial and trailing white space. Okay. And people will know what that is, generally speaking. I can never remember this. I have to go look it up. It's screwing up right now. What is it? Is it why isn't it working? I can't remember my things. There's a way to justify that. I just can't remember right now. My fingers are not remembering it. There we go. But there's a way to do that. You get on this line and then you go up, and that'll reformat it, which I should probably go over with you. So anyway, so that's our thing. So we need to get the line value. So it is say out equals. So we say out and error equals this, right? Return out an error. And so that now we're back to where we are, right? So, and then we need to just say, you can say out equals and just replace it with itself as strings.trim out, and that will trim both sides off. I think we have to actually tell it. That was K I did to do that. The cut set trim string returns a slice of string with all the leading and trailing Unicode code points containing cute set removed. I think it's trim space actually is the one we want. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So there we go. Trim space with all the leading and trailing white space removed as defined by Unicode. White space is defined to be spaces, tabs, line returns, carriage returns, and I think a few others, but those are the main ones. And so that'll give us a nice trim. That's like, if you've done any Python, you're probably used to that kind of thing. And so now we get sample, as you can see down here, and our test case is passing. So, and frankly, that's, yeah, I mean, you could do the same thing with the scan. The scan would be more efficient because it would stop, but it would also wouldn't trim the prefix off. So I think this is acceptable. Let's keep this. So, but down here, we need to change our test to have quotes in it so it passes, and we have a usable read line function. Okay. What time is it? 4:24. We have until 6. So I know some of you probably want to take a break, but some of you may have already done so. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and do this. Readline takes any IO reader and returns. So we've got a little documentation here. We can actually do go doc period, and it will tell us what we have as documentation. And I don't know why that didn't. Oh, I think it's dash all, right? Yeah, there we go. So when you do go dash, you can check your documentation out with go doc dash all and see how it would look. It's really cool when you look at it from a web page. Checking documentation with go doc dash all dot, and so you see there it shows that this. I mean, this is exactly how it would appear. And now the thing that's really cool about this is if you actually use this someplace else, you can use the K to document it. So if you can't remember your own function and you're down here and you're like, I made this readline thing, but I don't remember, you can use K, and now you've got the doc for it, right? So now you've got this really cool document for that thing. It can remind you of your own usage. And so at that point, it does kind of make sense to write about it while you're doing it, because if you come back and try to do the docs later, somebody's going to have to read through all that code and understand it. I wouldn't go so far as to say that writing all the docs for your function up front is a good idea, unless you're still in brainstorming mode. If you're in brainstorming mode, I think writing a unit test is better than writing the document for it, because you're going to be tweaking it and everything. And as you get close to the end of it, then write the doc really quickly and make sure it's all. And while you're writing the doc, you might realize you've done something wrong or you forgot something, and then you can go back and tweak it like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So I just want to emphasize that that's a very practical way to do documentation. If you try to do it, documentation, What's that? I'm just using capital K, the standard for Vim. Yeah, it's for anything that provides documentation. It's just capital K. You just have to position your cursor on it and capital K, and it will show you everything. It's capital K. By the way, if I wanted to do package docs, so while we're here, since we're talking about documentation, there's one last convention. When you're documenting a package, it's traditional. You don't have to do this, but it's traditional to do doc.go, especially if it's long, and then to put the thing, and they use the long form of comment here, and you always start with package internal. This is really important, or package whatever, right? Package internal, blah, 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 contains isolated, contains, I don't know, functions used only within this module, cannot and cannot be imported by other modules. So, I just wanted to show you that you notice there's nothing in this file or package. It's just doc.go. You'll see if you go look through the source code for the original stuff, you'll see a lot of that. Yeah. And so then you can just do, you can do like go, so go doc dash all, and you'll see that our function, okay. So you'll see our stuff up here. So there's go internal, package internal, functions use, contains functions only as this module and cannot be imported. That's weird. It messed up my comment. Oh, you know why? Because it tried to do Vim tried to do the automated thing. I actually, just because it's easier to write, I'll often do this because I find that much easier to like manage when I'm writing, because this is usually long. The package usually has a lot of examples, and there's an entire really minimal markdown format. Like if you indent 4 spaces, it does it verbatim. It's not marked down at all, and it's nowhere near what you'd expect if you're like doing it in Rust. Rust has got tremendously amazing inline documentation. But Pike is on record as saying terminal colors are juvenile. He's very staunch advocate of just black and white everything. And, he's not a fan of, I mean, come on, the guy built Unix. He was one of the main people who did. He's coming from, and some of that stuff is annoying. It's kind of ironic because he helped make Unicode. And yet, you can't, it's just minimal docs. And it's actually one of my biggest pet peeves about Go, is that documentation is really hard to read in terminal-based form. Because it's just one big glob of like unformatted white. And there's no like, I think they could have done better with that. I really do. And other people have proposed better improvements to that, but they get denied pretty frequently. It's too bad because I think they could have really done that. They're really afraid that too many people get pulled into that then the documentation can become really convoluted and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, so this, let's see if that worked better. My docs are better. So go doc all, there we go. So that's what I would want. So it tells you about the package, how do you import it. Package internal contains functions used only within this module and cannot be imported by other modules. I mean, that wouldn't be what you put in a package, but whatever. Functions, read line, blah, blah, blah. Right, but that will then get documented. And when we commit this, I'll show you, when we commit this, it'll get picked up by, GoDoc out there online, and you'll get this really great web render documentation. And that's kind of all built in. So checking documentation with .go. All right, so I think that's enough on that. And everything is all passing. We got our read line thing, and I mean, you didn't think this was going to take this long, but there's a bunch of little things. So we do have our greet library. Let's go back to our greet library now, and we have hi, nice to meet you. So that hi is still there. We have greet test.go, which is greet with arguments, which we have. But this other one, we didn't get prompted, and we've decided we're not going to be able to test this one that way. So we could probably just delete that test. Because why? Because we can't test that. We need to go in and check the command again. So let's check that. So the command for this is like, if I have more than one, do this. It says if the name is blank, go ahead and do a read line. So now we can do internal.readline, and we need to give it some input. So we'll give it os.Stdin, and that will read from standard input. And frankly, that should do it. I think that we're going to be very close to being done with this one. So where's our build line? I'm trying to, no, I guess I don't have one. Sometimes it's there. Build, oops, go install cmd greet, and assignment mismatch returns 2 values. Okay, so we got to fix that. You know what we could do? Let's do an entry. So we do that. Let's do entr bash -c, and then we're going to call greet, and then we're going to do find dot. So this says if anything changes in here, rerun the command, the greet command, and compile it. So this will keep running. So let's go ahead and split the screen, and we'll go run that, open that entr again. Yeah, let's go copy this and put it down here. All right, so there we go, and that'll run every time something changes. Do you need to ask? Yes, we do. There's lots of little tweaks we have to do. But the thing that I just changed here now is that now I don't have to go rerun it every time. I can just go down to main, and I can change it, and cannot find main module. This is actually going to wait to read input, so it's kind of interesting. Cannot find, nice to meet you, cannot find main module but found. .git config. Did I do go mod init? Where is it running from? I'm so silly. Slash. I did it from not even in the right place, Rob. All right, there we go. So one variable needs 2 values. Okay, so it's returning 2 values here. So we need error, remember? And we don't want to ignore it. So this is kind of an interesting situation because error is new and name has already been defined up here, right? So there's lots of debate about how to do this properly. If I put this here, it'll make a new localized variable that doesn't change this one up here because it's inside of this one here, right? If I do this, somebody's going to yell. But I prefer that. That says, okay, where's like, I'm defining error up above. Errors declared but not used. You see what I'm saying? Because it got declared up here, but it didn't get used because down here it didn't get used. So this is a tough one, to tell you the truth. This is a tough one. Does anybody else have an idea on this one? I mean, we could do. I mean, there's another way to do this. We could say, no, we can't do that. Right? os.Stdin. I mean, there's just so many ways to do this. Yeah. I've never known what the best way to do this is. This is one of the cases where people have disagreements. You see how it says errors declared but not used? Oh, that's because, oh no, that's fine. Okay, I'm dumb. Yeah, right here. If there was an error, then we would want to do something with it. But what are we going to do with the error? Right? What are we going to do with the error? So let's log the error and return. So, yeah, let's log the error and just return. And that will end the program without printing anything. This is my most popular way of writing programs that do the right thing and don't print crap to standard output when it's just an error because it might get picked up by something. So go install. I don't know if that actually worked. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, okay. So it's waiting around. That's why we're confused. All right. So it did what it's supposed to, but it's like waiting around, right? It didn't say anything. So we need to do what I think Greyloop said. So we need to say fmt println. Let's say hello there. What's your name? Question mark. Excuse me. And so uh-oh, when do we get there? I might have to just keep doing this one like this. Hello there, what's your name? Rob. Nil. Okay, so all right. That we only wanted to do this if there's an error. So wait, we have to do the name equals everything. This is where people get annoyed. Wait, wrong thing. Wrong macro. There we go. Now, when I save it, it should reformat everything. Yep. We don't need to return an error here. Rob. Hi, Rob. Nice to meet you. Greet Rob Muirstein. Hi, Rob Milstein. Nice to meet you. Okay, so that part seems to be working the way we wanted. Now, we can't really, as I said, that's a hard thing to write a test for, right? Because it is standard, but there are full test cases for bash. So if you wanted to write like an exorcism, like, in fact, if you're going to do, somebody mentioned exorcism earlier today. If you're going to do bash, you're going to do exorcism with bash, you have to learn how to use the bash test case, test suite, which I never use for anything. I just check the values, you know. But if you're writing something big enough that needs a test suite in bash, you're writing it in the wrong language, in my opinion. According to Google style guidelines, if it's longer than 500 lines, it needs to be in another language besides bash. That's the official party line over at Google. And I agree completely with that. And I'm working hard to get some of my shell scripts, you know, into Go or some other more sustainable language. I love bash. God knows I love bash, but you know, for all the reasons that Guido van Rossum cites about Python, I think you know, certain code of a certain size should be, and, you know, Guido says, I learned a painful lesson that for small programs, dynamic typing is great. For large programs, you have to have a more disciplined approach, and it helps if the language actually gives you that discipline rather than telling you, well, you can do whatever you want. And that Guido said that at a Python user group in Seattle, and I agree. And that's why, you know, at a certain point, not only do you want to pick a more disciplined language, but it makes no sense for me at this point to go from a less disciplined language like bash into another sort of less disciplined language like Python or Perl or Ruby, when you could go to a easy to write disciplined language like Python. Like Go. And that's why that's Go's great appeal in the world. That's why Go is the #1 language for cloud native computing. Almost every single application made in the cloud native world, including Kubernetes, Docker, and a million other things, core DNS, is done. C++ is definitely disciplined, but it's much harder to write, of course, as is Ruby. As is Rust. Rust is more disciplined as well, even more so than Go, but it's incredibly hard to write quickly. So, you know, people will take issue with that statement, but the world has already made its choice. I don't need to, you know, sit here and proclaim why Go has become the world standard in programming utilities and cloud native applications. There's just no debate. So, this isn't an opinion. I'm just telling you what the world has chosen and why. So here we go. We've got this going on. This particular requirement is met. Let's take a break really quick. Let's take a 5-10 minute break. YouTube, you'll be right back. And then we're gonna come back and finish this up. We're gonna do some of our we're gonna bring in maybe some foreign language ideas going on with this, and look at some other things with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause right now, and we're gonna unpause the video. And we've been having a fun little conversation here, and I had time to go get a snack and some wine. And of course, where there's wine, there's French. Not always. This is not French wine, but there's people here who know I speak French and Russian and stuff. And so let's start talking about adding language support to our simple little program. What would we even do? All right, so let's go back and kind of get a rebase on where we're at. In fact, it's probably time for us to do a working commit. How about that? You guys know what that is? A working commit is when you get to kind of a stopping point and you're scared of like losing your stuff. So I think this is probably one of those times. So let's go there, right? In fact, I'm a little bit worried as it is right now. I'm like, where's my stuff? All right, so weeks, what are we, 18? Greet. Okay, so let's go. So we got all this good stuff here, right? So let's just add this whole thing. Let's do git add dot, right? And git commit. So that's adding all of this stuff. And it's not changing our readme. I guess it could do that too. Oh, and we have a file here that's, oh no, that's okay. So let's do that. Let's say, we'll add the other notes later. So let's say add initial greet challenge solution. All right. So we'll save that. And we're kind of practicing our git commands. We covered these before, but just know that this is kind of where we're going with it. And so that is now committed. Now, if we do git status, we see that it's not pushed, and then it's kind of like, well, should we push it or not? Let's go ahead and do that. So git push, and that allows you to see it. So again, if you're following along, this stuff is all github.com, rdvxrob/boost, and you come down here and click on 2022, and oopsie, we should probably commit that one then. Let's go ahead and commit that. So yeah, because the link's not there, so I need to do that. So git add -a dot git commit add week 18, git push, and then we'll refresh, and you should have an 18 here now, or not. Why is it not saving? Oh, because it's still up one level more. All right, fine. Git commit. We're going to do the two things in one shot. Add week 18 and git push. And now we should have it. We should better have it. Okay, there it is. 18. And click on the 18. I feel so defeated. You must love listening to me, watching me make all these horrible mistakes. I'm just a human being drinking wine right now on a Saturday. Hope you're having a great Saturday, everybody. Oh, look at that. I left an 8 out. I'm so bad. Where's my other one? There it is. Fix 18 typo. Cheers. Can this please just work? This is why I'm super glad I did one of these, right? 18 now goes to, yay. Okay, so week 18. You can hear my stepson making dinner. Sam, what are you doing? My dog's relaxing. All right, so there we go. We got all of our stuff in there. And of course, inside of here, we have the other code, which is not linked from here. You have to actually click on the 18 and go back, and you can click on greet, and then there's all the code. Or you can git pull this stuff. You can always git clone this entire repo and get all of these things. All right, so back to what we're doing. So what are the requirements again? There's our summary of what we've learned so far. We'll go back to our README. So we wanted to create an import module named greet with a greet command. We did that. If the command arguments are passed, assume that they are the name. Okay, we did that. Combine all arguments into a single argument. We did that with strings.join, remember? Write a separate function to read one line of standard input. We spent at least an hour writing that read line function, which we used trim with, and we tested really thoroughly with quotes and everything. And now we know how to read lines of input. If no arguments are passed, greet generically and prompt for the name. We did that. And detect the language from the host system. Okay, we haven't done that yet. And that's why we got the wind. Hey, Otto, would you shut the door for me, please? Thank you very much, my friend. So we're going to try something that I haven't done before. We're going to try to use languages from the host system. And if this works, we'll be able to test our program, possibly using a Docker container in another language. I wasn't planning on doing this. This is one of the reasons I like doing live, organic, interactive things like this, because me and you would be, if we were doing this one-on-one, we'd be sitting here and we'd say, hey, I wonder if we did this. And we would just, eat some Swedish fish and popcorn and wine, and then we would just like figure something out fun to do. So I want to do this. I want to do this. It's the first time I've done it before. I mean, I know how, but I kind of want to get into it. So switch to language detect and print simple greeting rather than the language. Write code that you easily have additional languages added. By doing this, by the way, we are going, there's two things we could do here. We could make a separate program for each language. So why don't we start with that? Okay. Let's start with that. Let's start by making a separate program for French, let's say. And then, as I said, sometimes people like to compile languages, like compile binaries for a specific language rather than load up a single binary with all the languages that are supported. But let's just look at the differences here, and particularly since we got Unicode here. So yeah, let's do that. So the thing we're going to cover now is adding multiple commands to a single module repo. Okay. Now this is where things get kind of interesting, because we're going to be doing, when we go into weeks 18 again, and going to greet. And so here, I have a question for you. So what module do you suppose the command belongs to? Here. Again, a module is defined as being more or less a Git repo that has a go.init in it. Go.mod, sorry. And let's confirm that. So what is a Golang module? So a module is a collection of Go packages. Yeah, it is. Internationalization is, and then we're going to start out with a couple of approaches to this. A module is a collection of Go packages stored in a file tree with a go.mod file at its root. Hey, I feel good. That's what I said. I think that's what I just said. The go.mod file defines the module's path, which is also the import path, blah, blah, blah. So we're not talking about Linux distros right now. We're in the middle of a boost. We can come back later. Save that for Q&A. Okay, so let's say a module is a collection of Go packages. So basically, a module is defined as something with a go.mod. And if you actually were to write the code, the algorithm for this, when it's looking for a module, it looks in the current directory, and if there's a go.mod file, it's like, oh, this must be a module. And if it's not there, it goes up another level, and it's like, well, okay, there's no one here. And okay, here we go. And it goes all the way up. Yeah, that'd be good. And then it goes up to the other one, and it goes all the way up. It keeps propagating up all the way, right? Now, in our case, it is true, and we proved this a couple weeks ago, that you can have multiple modules in a single Git repo. Right? You can have multiple modules in a single Git repo. And it's unusual, but it in the monorepo world, this has been becoming more and more popular. So what you look for is the go.mod. The go.mod contains the name, or the import path, they call it, of the module, and what version of Go is required, and a number of other things which we won't get into. But that's the basics. So the answer to the question, what does the greet command, when I type greet, I type greet. So when I type the greet command, the answer to the question, what module does greet belong to? The answer is to the, this repo right here. This directory right here. This is the one with the go.mod in it. So if we were to put a go mod inside of that main, then you wouldn't, but if you did, it'd become part. The point I'm trying to make is that the greet command, which is the main package, is a separate thing, but it's still a part of the greet module. And why is that important? Because we're about to add another command with another main package to the same module. And the way we do that is we make a directory called command, and we'll call it, we could call it salut. What should we call it? How do I say to greet? Приветствовать на русском языке. Но это очень трудно писать. Я забыл, как по-французски. Comment dit-on to greet en français? Bienvenue. Bienvenue. Moi, je sais pas. Salut, it means hi, literally. Let's just call it salut. I normally call it salut when I do this. So let's do that. So let's say make directory, command salut. And, so now we have, we have the other one there, right? And so we can actually copy the other one, right? And I know this is cheating, but I kind of want to do it anyway. So we're going to copy main.go, and we're going to put that in salut. Yep. And then we're going to do cmd salut main, and we see that everything is the same, except for here we have to change the words, right? Hello there, what's your name? So we say, hello there. Bonjour. Comment vous appelez-vous? Appelez-vous. What are you barking at? You're interrupting. You're interrupting. All right, come here. Go out. Go ask Otto. I'm busy. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, all right, doggy. All right, Chris Nova. What the hell? I guess we'll take a time out to say hi to Chris Nova. I've been having fun watching your program on that Rust stuff. I mean, there's no better place I'd like to see Rust get improved than in the kernel stuff. So more power to you, even though you're honest about it. 4 out of 10, huh? 4. The rest of YouTube, you all are being saved on this YouTube boost. So just so you know, the famous Chris Nova has rated. Cheers to Chris. We're just commenting very, very simple stuff. Hey, Jimmy. Bonjour is one word. Eh ben, j'ai oublié. Je suis désolé. Yeah, I can see you. Okay, so we've got so we're actually just writing basic stuff here, and we're writing about. I mean, just lots of stuff. I mean, if you want to see the summary, you can go see. We've been covering Go, but we've been doing it in a very roundabout, weird way, and talking about why this is a fail and it needs to have a trim on it and blah and stuff. adding multiple comments, idiomatic stuff for Go, stuff that you know very well. So right now we're in French mode. So we're making a French version of the program, and then we're going to try to detect a language from the locale on the host OS because we're making utilities and stuff. All right, so I'm just going to keep going. Chris, thank you so much for rating, but there's people here for the boost. So, je suis une grande tête. All right, so comment vous appelez-vous? So if you have that, let's change this one here. So this says greet.hi name. But where is greet? We have a problem now though, because now we don't want to have greet hi, we want to have greet salut, right? So let's make a new thing called salut. Vous êtes un bon. Eh ben, je me débrouille. Je me débrouille quand même. Je n'arrive pas à parler très bien ce matin. Je ne sais pas pourquoi. Cet après-midi, je n'arrive pas à parler en français très bien. Il faut que je fasse de la répétition avec vous. Okay, so then we're going to go over here and we have to make a new thing. You need more wine. Ouais, c'est vrai, je suis d'accord. Ouais, tu as raison. J'aime bien les streamers en français sur Twitch. C'est très bien. Vous essayez au service. YouTube, you'll have to forgive me. I've gotten this wonderful raid from, someone I very much respect. So we're just having fun. He speaks so fast, sounds like a different language. This is true too. Yeah, sometimes you don't know which language I'm speaking. When I learn French, that is a question for QCA. Hey, I'll make a plug. Questions, conversations, and advice. Weekdays, 9:30 to 10:30 every weekday. So if you want to come by sometime, and those are the kind of questions you can ask me. Either that or you can ask me the question like tomorrow or tonight when I'm playing games and drunk, but not right now. And if you lost respect for me on YouTube because I told you that I get drunk and play games on Twitch, probably not your community. Because I do. We won't talk about the nipple tape. We're not going to talk about that. All right, so let's move on. So we're trying to make a program that says hi in French. Salut. Ça you say hi in French. En russe, on dit privyet. Il est multi-cache, yes. The RTL languages. Oh yeah, the RTL. I would love to do that. You know what? Ghost of the Cat, you need to take that as a challenge because this is the first time we've done multilingual support in these basic challenges that I've had. So you can actually do that. And I would love for one of our RTL language experts to help us out with that. I may spend some time doing it, but let's get the French one. All right, so I'm just going to tell everybody who's watching who already knows Go right now that the way I'm doing it is not the way that I would suggest you do it professionally. It's just kind of a stepping stone towards that way of doing it. Right now, we've done something rather simple and frankly kind of stupid. We've made two different commands, one in English and one in French. And as I've said, in production, a lot of times people will make a separate version of the program, a separate executable that is dedicated to the language, rather than putting all of the languages supported into a single binary. And there are all kinds of ways to approach this, but for now we're just using the simple one by making a separate executable. We may revisit this later and use an embedded file system and a JSON file that has all of the strings in it, maybe, but we're not there yet. I mean, this is only our third week. So let's go with that. Let's look at this salut thing. So if we try to compile salut right now, go install ./cmd salut, we get there is no such thing as greet.salut. So we need to add that to our greet.go package, and we can copy this and put it here and call it salut. Same thing. I mean, if you want to, you can change it to null. Change this to null. I will tell you, though, that most code is written in English. even though, the stuff in it is, I've seen a lot of like Russian code, that in particular Russian code that is written in English, even though the strings and stuff are in Russian. So it's pretty fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people might disagree, that almost all code is written in English. And I know that's bad to say. Il est multi-tâche et tu me dis langage. Il est multitâche et tu me dis language. Maybe, I don't know. But so the point is that unfortunately, keywords from Latin, yes. Now, as I understand it, in Go, the symbols and stuff can actually be in other languages. They can even be Unicode. And there are languages that you can actually write the identifiers. In fact, Nim comes to mind, if I remember. Nim doesn't care what your identifiers are. You can put underscores in there and everything, and it'll just figure it out. I don't know why English is the language of programming languages. I'm just telling you the sad news. So English tends to be the go-to language even for coding in other countries. And I think it's because, I don't know. I just think, I think it's just easier because they got internationals that have to agree on what to code in. And, so it's because we invented it. Creators are American. Yeah. So I pause on this particular point because I have a lot of international friends, and I've mentored a lot of internationals, and unfortunately they have an extra huge task ahead of them if they want to work in tech. If they want to work in tech, particularly if they want to program, they got to learn English. And most of the international community has already done a fantastic job learning English in order for those exact same reasons. In some cases, French as well. It's language of diplomacy. And I'm a huge language advocate. I think everybody should learn at least one or two languages, including you Americans. You Americans need to get out of your bubble and learn some other language, and learn it preferably by going there and talking to those people and getting to know the culture. No matter what culture it is, I don't care. Get out of your bubble, get out of America, and make a connection with somebody besides yourselves. And I feel very strongly about that. So writing code this way, I just want to say that I empathize, or sympathize, I suppose, with those who have to learn. I mean, I can't even remember the words in Russian for computer, ordinateur, and en français, and all these other things. I cannot possibly imagine what it would be like to the doctor travel first. Yes, they don't. They need to. But I think. First of all, a lot of the technical community is international, and that includes in America. I mean, right now, I would suggest that 70% of the CEOs for the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley are not born in America. They were born someplace else. So having some cultural diversity, and if nothing more, some empathy for these people who have to learn English to participate in the tech sector, I think is worth it. All right, I'm going to put aside my little soapbox there for a second. But yeah, the average American speaks 0.08 languages. Where symbols are mapped to the identity. I think it would be so cool. I mean, there's like a million things. So, to the English speakers out there, I suppose that's good news, because, everybody else has got to learn that. And it's not a small feat to learn English. English is a horrible language. And in fact, I really, it's a dream of mine, maybe next year after we move, it's a dream of mine when we're on the college campus again, to actually get certified to teach English as a second language. I've talked about doing this before. I know this is a side path, but I very, very, very much want to teach. Oh, it's so flawed. Don't even get me started. That's why I want to teach it to internationals. So I really want to get my teaching English as a second language, my TOEFL certificate, so that I can professionally teach English on Twitch, or abroad, or whatever. Because I hate that this is true, that you have to learn our flawed language, but it is, and it's just a great way for me to make connections with people from other cultures, which is a real core value of mine. I really find that a really, really significant source of joy and enlightenment, frankly. And as Sam Harris would say, luminous experiences. There have been experiments, but I've not caught them because of the usefulness of sharing a single source code language. Yes. Imagine other languages as well. Oh, yeah. Much rather than Latin. Latin would be good too. I actually am very seriously considering over the next year or two doing a teaching English as a foreign language, a TOEFL boost, specifically designed to teach non-native English speakers English. And unfortunately, it'll be Americanized English, and not the Queen's English or the King's English, I guess now. So, which I love, by the way. I love British English personally. I think it's amazing. I can't even begin to go there. I'm so Americanized. All right. Technical English, yes. Oh, mate. British accent is cute but hard to learn. It is. Every time I do it, it's like a smashing together of like Cockney plus Aussie plus New Zealander. I just can't do it. Australian English is amazing too. Yeah, I really love it. Scottish is the closest to how words are spelled. Yes, this is probably true too. All right, so someone built a Twitch bot to translate chat comments in multiple language. Can you pick from? Ooh, British English accent comes from pub to pub. Changes from pub to pub. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, it's funny because I heard a rapper the other day from England who he sounded like Dick Van Dyke, and in a Disney movie, and I was like, and like the Wonderwall guys, what are they? The whatever. He sounded like the Wonderwall guys, and I'm like, this is the same country. It's the same country. It's just where English words are spelled differently than they sound. Oh gosh, that's great. Thank you for that. I think that's enough of a side track. We need to finish our little code here. Transatlantic, no. Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to look away for a second while we have all 145. I mean, this is a fun conversation, but we got to finish this Go code. So I'm going to look away from the chat. You're welcome to chat about those things. Just don't tell anybody to use Testify or I'll cancel you. There was a little bit of drama earlier because people were distracting from the stream by making things that I don't agree with during my chat. Any other time is fine. Not during the YouTube videos. Okay, so we are recording. This is going on YouTube, so be careful what you say because it's going to get recorded on YouTube for time and eternity, as we used to say in the Mormon Church. Okay, so salut, hi, salut. Salut les gars. Aussi bien d'avoir fait votre connaissance. Comment dit-on ça plus couramment? How do you say it's nice to have made your acquaintance? French, nice to meet you. I should probably have my translator on the command line. Yeah, if you want to put a question mark, and it won't make it in the thing, you guys can talk on the back channel if you want to do that. Nice to meet you, Mitch. These are for me. Enchanté. Oh, bien sûr. Bien sûr. Ravi de faire votre connaissance. Enchanté. Enchanté, c'est plus... comment dit-on colloquial en français? Ravi de vous rencontrer. Ravi de vous... rencontre. I cannot remember my accents either. I can't rencontrer. Ravi de vous rencontrer. Ravi de vous rencontrer. That's not how a French person would say it. They definitely wouldn't use an exclamation point. De faire votre connaissance. Ravi de faire votre connaissance. Ravi de faire bon en français. Enfin. Yes. Let's see. De faire votre connaissance. C'est comme ça que j'ai appris de le dire il y a si longtemps. Many years ago. Il y a bien longtemps. Connaissance. My spell checker is like having a conniption right now. It's like I shouldn't even be on because it's code. So anyway, let's go down here and cancel this one, and we'll go do our test. Yup. 18. And we're going to do, here we go. Hello there, what's your name? Rob. Nice to meet you, Rob. Okay, so what if I do, salut. Salut. Damn. It didn't install it. Oh, wait. Go install .cmd salut. Where's salut? Did I not save it? Sheesh. Oh, I'm not in greet. Ugh, I feel so stupid. Bonjour. Comment vous appelez-vous? Robert. Salut Robert, ravi de faire votre connaissance. C'est comme ça que j'ai appris à le dire. C'est comme ça que j'ai appris à le dire. C'est comme ça que j'ai appris à le dire. C'est comme ça que j'ai appris à le dire. Il faut de la répétition. Il faut que je fasse beaucoup de la répétition. Ouais. Vous êtes d'accord? No, we want to detect it from an environment variable, from locale. Yeah, okay, so that's the end of that part. So we've made two different programs, and you can separate those programs out. But what if we wanted to get fancy and we wanted to make it so that the hi program was smart enough to be language aware, right? So let's try that just for fun. This is not something that we've done before, but I would like to do that. And how would we write the test case for that? So let's actually write a test case for this. We should probably write a test case for salut. We haven't got that at all, so let's write that first. Let's write the test case for salut. Where are we? We turn our tests on. Hey, look, we're passing. Okay. Excuse me. So example greet. We want example salut. Salut with arguments. Remember, the stuff after here is ignored. It does, but I don't know how to do it. I'm not that good. So, salut. Hi Rob, nice to meet you. Salut Rob. Merci d'avoir fait votre connaissance. Ouais. Bye. Eh ben, c'est comme ça. C'est comme ça. Eh ben, je passe. Je passe. C'est le même mot, hein. En anglais et en français. Passer. Je passe. J'ai passé mes bacs. J'ai passé mon bac. Est-ce que vous avez passé? Est-ce que tu as passé le bac ou non? Qu'est-ce que c'est le bac? Je sais pas. Je pense que c'est baccalauréat. Je n'arrive pas à prononcer ce mot-là. Bac plus 5 quelque chose. Ah ben. So in France, I'm just making conversation. In France, they have to pass the bac. It's all about the bac. Actually, there's a really what's her name? Somebody shout her out. What's the streamer who's in Japan? She's been in Japan for 7 years learning Japanese, and she's French. She's absolutely brilliant. Oh my gosh, she's like so brilliant. What's her name? Nim. It's not what we think. I think it's Nin. She's so okay. So let me just say this: Twitch is one of the untapped best resources to learn language that is being totally ignored. And I've done a lot of language instruction over the years, and I got to tell you, Twitch is like a godsend for learning languages, because you can actually listen to people colloquially talk, and you can sit there and repeat what they're saying and ask them questions in the language and everything. You can actually have live foreign exchange communications with people from another language and read, the colloquialisms of the. It's absolutely a godsend. If you are, I know we got an ad running right now. I'm really sorry, but if you do not take advantage of this as a teacher, if you are watching this and you are a foreign language instructor, if I ever get a chance to go present at the International Society for Technology and Education, Duolingo teaches, yeah, I know. But like, if you go to, so I want to present at SKILSTAK. I've been there before. I ran their Second Life thing and stuff, but I want to present at SKILSTAK about using Twitch to learn foreign languages, because this is an untapped resource that it is too taboo for educators to think about recommending to their students for obvious reasons. But it is so valuable. My French and Russian has taken up all sorts of levels because of Twitch very recently. So I know we're just doing Go right here, but because we're doing language instruction and stuff and drinking wine, I just want to say that because I really feel like it's important that we get this, that we get language instruction. I think the more we improve the opportunity and willingness for people to communicate with each other across national boundaries, this whole problem that we're having is going to go away. And it's not going to go away if we don't start talking to each other. And whether it be culturally within your own country or internationally. And yesterday, you can go watch the stream. Yesterday was Mexican Independence Day, and I was downtown in Charlotte doing an IRL stream at my wife's art opening, and it was absolutely amazing. It was just amazing. It makes me want to learn Spanish. So get out of your bubble. How many times do I have to say it? This is people. Are we learning Go or what? All right. Well, we already really have learned the main things for today. We've already covered all those things. So now we're just doing the extra. So the last thing that I want to cover before we shut off for the day and, continue to drink and have fun is I want to see if we can sense the language from the host computer. All right. And so let's do what you would do. You would do a search. You say, how can I detect the language of the Linux machine? There is Korean Japanese fabricator. He is so kind and welcome, and it's fascinating watching the text and hearing the words. Yeah, I completely agree. I totally agree. And I'm a pretty traditional American. I mean, I'm not really left or right. I'm left leaning, I suppose. But that did not work. So let's go try Google this time. All right. Language support, cloud to text speech. I think we're going to use locale, right? I think it's locale. I'm just going to take a guess. So the env environmental variables, grep locale. I'm pretty sure it's no, isn't it locale? I think it's locale. Yeah, there it is. It's the locale command. Let's see I wonder if Go has a typical way to do this. Yeah, I don't know about this part. Yeah. So I know about these, but this has got my language here. Echo lang. So I think I can just look up the environment variable for lang, but let's see if there's a better way. So looking up lang, there's probably something in Go already. Language, looking up host language with Golang. Let's try some Google instead of Duck is having problems right now. Golang programming, guiding principles. I hate how Google takes over your requests and gives you shit that you have no relevance whatsoever because they think it's more important. I want them to just answer the question. I don't want them to, go on with it. There we go. It's the first hit on DuckDuckGo, but in Google tried to outsmart me. I hate Google. I'm such a DuckDuckGo fan. Introduction. Consider 2016 applications as a website. Language tags. We don't want websites. I don't think this is in Go for historical reasons. Messy. Okay, we'll keep going. I want to see where we look this stuff up. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, look, there is one on it. Look at that. There is one on this. In PP4. So there, look, check it out. It's there's an extended. This means X. This is not a standard library, but it's an extended library, which is the next best thing. It means it's maintained by the Go team and everything, or a subset of the Go team. That package is for templating. Text language implements BC4 standard for language tags. I don't know, man. I think it's more than that. Yeah, language German, matcher, best creative language tag, creating language tags. I think we already have language tags. Messing user preferences, language tags, matching example. Yeah, I remember this stuff briefly. I remember looking at the whole matcher thing, but let's see if there's just an easy way to look it up without having to look up the environment variable, which will be kind of like the reason we're looking at the Go version is because it's guaranteed to be cross-platform, where the environment variables may be different names on Unix from Go, from Windows or something. So we want to see if Go has a version. It's one of Go's greatest advantages is that it's been written for multiple devices from the ground up, and you don't have to do all of that, right? So we're going to go look up what that language is. So we're going to actually go read the docs on text language. No. So go doc text language. We might have to go get it actually. Go doc language. Go doc text langage. No buildable thing. I don't know if we're going to be able to go see this. Let's go look at it this way. Yeah, I don't know. We got to go. I'm trying to get the Go docs on it. We're going to have to go probably download the code, which I'm pretty sure I have somewhere. Oh, maybe not. I don't know if I have it or not. I know. Let's go see if we can find it. Go doc X. This because it's extended. That didn't get included with the standard package. Is the text package in standard lib? There's text template. That's a different thing, though. This is x/text. Yeah. Maybe. Oh, I see what you're saying. So maybe there's text with a variable. Yeah, I'm trying to find. I have Go source code somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I think I cloned it already. I just gotta go find it. I may have deleted it. Who knows? Go API. Maybe I don't have it. What's the source code for Go? I'll go download it really quick. By the way, this is a great way to learn about Go, is to just read the source code. Yeah, I think you're right. Clone Golang extended packages. I'm trying to figure out what their names are. What it is. Package do, cloud do, go search. Did you find it? Yeah, but that's the import package. What's the GitHub source? Is it hosted on GitHub? Is it like a copy of it on GitHub, right? Golang source code. They have like a mirror of it on GitHub. What is up with DuckDuckGo today? They're not happy. Google go-github. I get it. Yeah, I know. I'm looking for that stuff. Golang. It's definitely Golang, but I don't know which one it is. Oh, it's Golang Go. All right. So clone Golang Go. And that'll take a while. Where's my wine? I'll be back. My code's compiling. I guess I should like insert a disclaimer before all the rest of this language stuff. It's like, do we really need to do all that? Yeah, sure. I think we have it. I think we get grep. So Golang, go test command mod. Oh, all the X stuff is here. It is. So go into the source. Is X here? The X stuff's not here. Yeah, I don't see the X stuff here. let's see, open source, Go, text plus master, internal language, parse that go. Internal. It is internal. X.text. It doesn't look like it's under X. I think it's a separate repo. Yeah, I just am trying to find out where the actual source is. Maybe it's in lib. Nope. Yeah, I'll see the source, but I want to pull it down. This is not good enough. I want to get the source code as where it lives. X text. Where is it? Where does it have the source code? I'm guessing it's well, let's go here and go. There's a Golang, which is, I mean, you know, it's easier to do that. So Golang Go website benchmarks tools. Is that all the X stuff? No, that's like GoFMT and everything. Vuln, build, EXP, experimental and deprecated packages. That must be EXP. IO, EBNF, command, appdiff, UTF-8 string. I don't see it there, do you? I don't see it. I think it's actually under the main source code. I really do. I think it's managed under the same library. But I can't prove that right now. I mean, this is useful information. If you want to learn Go, it's good to know where the source code is and go through it. It's really, really useful to read it. Yeah. So I think it's here somewhere. I just don't know where. I think it's under Go internal. I want to say that it's here. Find name text. There it is. It's a vendor thing. Good using of find though to find that vendor Golang X. So it is under the main source code. That's good to know. So we can come under here. Stop! My dog is like scratching on my door. What the hell, Sam? Unicode. This is not the same thing though. This does not have. This has Unicode. Oh, is it Golang text? Is it actually Golang text? Well, okay. Golang text. Let's grab that. All right. So here we are. We're in Golang text, and we are here to try to do this. Actually, go doc dot is what I wanted to do. All. And there we get the whole package. We wanted actually we want something else though. We want language, right? Langage. We're gonna say go doc dot all dot what? A 30-minute video? Are you saying you found something cool from being over on usually you're teaching, oh sorry. You heard about something new. Usually you're telling us the new stuff. Wow, look at all this cool stuff. All right, so that's what I wanted. It was in the Go doc. Nice. Read the docs, right? Is private group, is whatever, region is the thing, and new matcher, tokens, type, extension, new code. I don't think there's anything that detects the language. I think we're going to have to use environment variables for this. If so, it might be under OS, actually. I'm thinking it might be under OS. I've never looked for this, so that's one of the reasons I'm looking. These are just structs. So these are just we haven't talked about structs yet, but these are ways to capture complex data. We have all the variables with all the different tags with different languages. Make a tag. We're not making a tag. We're not parsing a tag. Returns the base language of a language tag. Don't need that. Extension. Don't need that. Tag is these are all methods that are being hung off of a tag, so they're OOP. That's what that's about. We have raw, we have region, we have script. I'm just giving it a shot to see. We got it's marshaled as a string. That's cool. Type for a key. Value error. Don't have one. Variant. Don't. Defined by the VCV. Nope. So this is the wrong place to look. So it looks like we're gonna have to look at the environment variable, which is fine if you're doing bash scripting. I do have a MacBook. Yeah. How do you deal with Docker? I use a VM. Long story short, I run a VM and I do Docker from VM as God intended. Did you know you can't run Docker without a Linux machine? Docker Desktop is KVM. True story. Docker Desktop is KVM encapsulated, and that's how it runs. So let's go fly a kite. I feel a little bit defeated. We're gonna do go doc os, which is like the main thing. Yeah, we want to see it all. Give us all of it. Boost is gonna go until it's done. So, are you talking about today? It's gonna go until it's done. We have a lot to cover. I mean, we're gonna do all of Go. We're gonna finish all our challenges, which might probably Christmas, honestly. Multi-language parse, but that parses a language though. That doesn't give you the current system language. I'm looking here. I don't see it. I don't see a Tony Fa. New value error. What we're trying to do is detect the host language, which I think is an OS operation. That's why I'm looking in the OS package right now. But yeah, if you find anything, let me know. So I doubt there is, and there's certainly nothing on the internet about this. So this was always meant to be kind of a side quest of the main greet quest. But I feel like it's worth it. It's kind of fun. So we got the read only, read write, append. I don't. I mean, I would think it would be like locale or something. Maybe they just want us to use the environment variables because those are standards. But see, things like this, like user cache directory, anything like that. I think that seems like it should be an OS thing. Maybe we should put a change ticket in. Maybe we should put a PR in for them to report the locale, because it's it's like different everywhere, right? I mean, we can get the locale. We can just echo lang and we got it, right? But that's only on Linux. I don't know if that works on Windows. Let's try, shall we? I seriously doubt it. Let's try. So, nope, no lang on Windows. And locale is POSIX, yeah. Or is it? That's interesting. So this is bash. This is git bash on Windows. Being part of POSIX. Yeah, I don't know, man. I remember going down this rabbit hole once upon a time, and there's really not a really reliable way on all OSs to detect the host language. It's really hard. I remember going through all that once upon a time. The more I'm getting into this, what's that about? Yeah, that's POSIX, but I want to get it on a non-POSIX system, which is the whole point of Go. It's supposed to be able to get this off anything. It needs to be added to the OS. Somebody needs to add this to the OS package in standard Go. Windows is not POSIX. No, it's not. At LC type collate monetary numeric time specials. It doesn't have. We were just there. Well, okay, so Git Bash reported some of those variables, but it did not report the lang variable, which must not be part of the POSIX standard. With this issue to target specific demographics. Do they really? Well, that's cool. Do you have a library from the dark web that does it? It needs to be POSIX to be FIPS 155 by the discovery. Really? What? Okay, well, so LC collate is our best bet here, right? If you're a beginner and you're like, what the hell are these guys doing? It's okay to kind of check out right now. I'm kind of geeking out. I know this is a beginner boost, but I'm kind of geeking out on the language thing. You can just end with the, making a different version in a different language and call it a day. And if you're French, make sure you get the right binary. That's the extent of the boost, but I'm kind of going down the deep end here. So I can either confirm, I can either confirm or deny. Yeah, I was going to say, okay. So echo, how about we just do locale? So yeah, UTF-8, UTF-8, UTF-8. That doesn't help. That doesn't tell me what language I'm in. It's like, it does not help. I'm sorry, I protest. It is definitely not helping. All right, so there is, okay, if there isn't one, we need to put that Go PR in like today. Because Go is so good at running on anything and be able to have, generic, like detected on Plan 9, detected on Unix, detected on BSD, detected on whatever. And we need to add that because that is like a thing. It's like an important thing. Okay, detect the host language of any computer, in Golang. Get culture. Undetected type? Really? What the hell? What just happened? Oh. Language and locale matching a Go. Go's package solves the problem complex while presenting a simple easy API. Language tags. I don't want language tags. I want to detect the language. Request a host configuring local, but no. Golang detect language of host user. What the hell? DuckDuckGo must be busy. LinguaGo. This engine first determines the alphabet of the input search and I mean, it looks interesting. And it looks very interesting. Interesting enough to clone. Let's go see what that is. This is something that's made by somebody else, so. Lang is a very well. Is yours populated, Ghost? On Mac? I don't have a Mac to test right now. I'm building them. It's on. I know, but is Lang populated? On Windows, it wasn't populated. It was there, but it wasn't populated. Like here. Like I do this, it's populated, right? But it's definitely not. Yeah. So, what is this thingamabob? Oh my god, besides horrible markdown. It tells you which language some provided textual data is written in. Oh man. So that detects the wow, that's cool. That's cool. Not what I want, but very cool. But that is very cool indeed. Go programming language. The Go programming language, detect text and images. Status networking DNS. Why is this so hard? How do you use private? I thought this would be easy, and that's why I added it kind of ad hoc. It's not easy. It's not easy. If you're on a Linux machine, you can query Lang, and that's it. But why would you do that? Because then it's not going to work everywhere. Go buy a stored UTF-8 and doesn't assume the input. Internationalization. Yes, you did say it's tough. Okay, so we know how to do it on Linux and Unix systems and Mac. We can just look at the Lang environment variable. We need to make a library that does this. Maybe I need to do this tonight after the fact. We need to write a library that does this and then offer it up as an X thing to the Go team. because this is like really critical. That you need to be able to make a really educated guess about what the language of the host OS is. And you have that information on Linux and BSD and Mac, which is sort of the same. You don't have it on Windows, but I bet you there's another way to check it on Windows, and we just put that in it, or we'd make our package and we make an actual system. We could compile a different _Windows thing based on the keyword out. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should make an intelligent detector. If for no other reason, I want that in my, in my code libraries for when I write, configuration software, we'll say, that it can detect. I want it to be able to detect what the language of the user is. Yeah, I think that's super important. So that needs to be made. That does not exist. And on that note, we will wrap up the boost, knowing that we have now isolated. I mean, people ask me all the time, well, what should I do? I don't know what program to do. I've got like a dozen things, if you want to do them, that the world needs. There's one of them. All right. So we're going to wrap up the boost tonight. So YouTube, we have a working version of a French thing, and we have a working version of a UX engineer to think about. Yes, we can. I mean, we could put it in like a configuration variable or something like that. But it's not a beginner task. Okay, it's not a beginner task. In fact, so much so that I'm going to take it out of the requirements. So we'll put it under bonus. How about that? I'll put it under bonus. It's like because if you figure that out, I want to know. Greet generically proper name. So there we go. We fulfilled the requirements by changing the requirements. How many times have you done that in production? Cheers. I didn't. I want to do a Chinese version. I wasn't ready. How many times have you met your goals by changing the requirements? It's like, hey, my test passes. Why? Because I deleted the test. I didn't need to test it that bad anyway. It was working, I promise. Move the goalposts. Here's to moving the goalposts. That's what we just did. I didn't need that anyway. So YouTube, you've learned a valuable lesson here. Under promise and over deliver. To be fair, I fell for all of the same problems of any mini project, of any project. I'm sitting here scoping out the requirements, right, in the beginning, which I, by the way, had already scoped out in advance. And I'm sitting here kind of ad hoc, and I'm like, I'm doing the requirements. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Let's just like, and then completely dynamically, as if in a meeting with a bunch of friends, while we're going, what if? I'm like, well, what if we made it language support? And blah, 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 blah. It's not a core requirement of the project at all. And I'm like, that'd be so awesome. Let's add that. So I put it as a requirement. So we'll get to that. And then the project goes beyond like the time frame that the project has been allocated for, which in this case is 4 hours. And it's about to like, the project is about to ship, and it's like, this language stuff is horrible. It's like, wait a second. We added that language stuff like kind of on the cuff in the middle of that meeting. Remember, like way back when, 4 hours ago? And then we just like moved it all down and say, well, we don't need it anymore. It's too hard. And it's not just the wine that's making me laugh, because all the veterans that are in the sound of my voice right now have gone through this exact thing before. They've gone through this. So it's an education to our noobs out there, our wonderful beginners who are like, first of all, lesson number 1, don't inject unnecessary requirements because they're cool. Do the minimum, and then if you have time at the end, keep it agile, do those things, and then kind of increment and add something later. And number 2, if you can't make it at the end, think about what you can chop. But don't chop security. Don't say to somebody, all these passwords and everything that we were going to put in a secrets file and we're going to commit to like a cluster under a secrets thing. We should probably just put that in a flat text file because it would load much faster. I'm looking at you, Uber, right now. Don't do that. Don't sacrifice security to get the thing out the door. You can like sacrifice language support, and people have, believe me. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I have like fought for language support, and they're like, no way. They need to speak English, goddammit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because it's not worth the money to them to put it out. Anyway, it's really sad, but we just went through like a miniature version of an actual project. Let's print hello world in my brain. Let's see if the screen is not touched. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're exceeding flexibility and deadlines. Yeah. Spoken very well, Marvel Wraith. I think it's time for us to move on to fun time on this wonderful Saturday night. Just a reminder. So we're about to wrap up again. And I just want to do my thing that I do. Don't forget the calendar. So the calendar is the place to go when you want to know what's coming up. Let me see if I can pull it up again. I mentioned the calendar before. Beginner Boost has changed to Saturdays so that our Eastern people are not are staying up really late on Sunday night and ruining their Mondays. And so we've changed back to Saturday. So we're going to be doing 2 to 6. We've got some other regular things on the schedule now. Hack the Box Tuesdays, Monday and Wednesday. Tuesdays and Thursdays we have the Home Lab, Linux Home Lab in it, which is what this is. I'm building that and putting Kubernetes and Accordion S and a bunch of stuff on there, Ansible. And do we work only with Go in this booster or as a programming language, or the others? We did Bash already. So we did Bash a while back. We did like 2 days of Bash, 3 days of Bash. And then we're doing Go as our primary language for this. And then anything after that, we do C every Christmas. We get head for C and we go through that. So do you have plans for learning for SKILSTAK learning French? No, I would love to do that. Add it to the list of things I would love to do. I was a Russian major. I would love to teach Russian and French, but more importantly, I would love to teach English as a second language. Here's why: because I think this channel and my entire last 20 years has been about preparing people for empowered, productive work in the tech sector so they can make gobs of money and then do whatever else they want to do with their life, curate art, support, the local shelter, whatever they want to do with that empowerment. And I do truly believe that tech can empower you. I know it can. I've seen it do it. So learning English as a second language. Yeah. Bonus, learn Klingon. I think that's within the guidelines. The only reason I'm hacking, by the way, yes, I'm a hacker, but the only reason I'm doing Hack the Box is because I want to trick people into getting into tech, because everybody wants to be a hacker, but nobody wants to be like a Kubernetes administrator, but they want to be a hacker. So if I can trick them into learning, Linux and stuff like that, that may lead them to another. They also want to be a game developer, by the way. I did that. I did that for 5 years shamelessly. I put learn how to make games outside of my door, and I got all kinds of people in there who learned how to make Minecraft mods and games, and all of them are like being the default TAs in the assembly courses and Chapel Hill University these days because they learned assembly on their own eventually from having learned Minecraft and how to make games in GameMaker. So I am not beyond tricking people into learning skills by enticing them with candy. Ironically, I did have a van for a while. I was like, "Oh yeah, here's some hacking skills, little boy. Hey, little girl, do you want to learn how to make a Minecraft mod?" and then they'd end up leaving, with these like kick-ass skills and be like starting their own coding clubs. There's one woman who did that. She actually commuted 40 minutes away. And so yeah, I'll resort to any means necessary. I will, short of doing things that are legal, obviously. I will attract people to the tech professions. Use of language memes. Yes, I know it was weird. Forgive me, it's probably time for me to go. Enough of this. If you want to stay around and have fun with RWX After Dark, go ahead. I can't make any promises, but if you want to do SKILSTAK the Boost next week, it's going to be next Saturday. And that's it for YouTube. Bye.